Chapter 593. The interior of the Superstar Divinity Temple shell was actually a large display that displayed the situation outside. The original temple had been arranged into several levels. The observatory, goddess palace, builder palace, and other important palaces were all on the first level. At this moment, the observatory was filled with people, and they all had their eyes on the universe outside. There was a battle between Superstar Realm cultivators outside. The battle was extremely intense, and a large number of people died every second. Yang Tian took a look and shook his head slightly. He wondered how many of the cultivators who participated in this battle would survive in the end. Yang Tian was very glad that he left the Superstar God Temple. Otherwise, he would probably be involved in the battle now. Yang Tian was wearing blue armor and a helmet. The little blue dragon was lying on his shoulder motionlessly, so no one deliberately paid attention to him. From the entrance to the first floor, there was a flight of stone stairs that led downward. Yang Tian glanced at the battle outside and the situation on the star observation platform. While no one was paying attention to him, he dashed into a forest beside a shrine. Yang Tian did not see Qin Fei on the observatory. After coming to the forest, he nodded to the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon understood Yang Tian's meaning and turned into a green shadow to go to the goddess palace. There was a great battle outside. Most of the cultivators below the Superstar Realm had already left the Superstar God Temple, so there were not many people in the temple. It was not like before, when there were temple guards standing guard and patrolling. Yang Tian looked at the battle outside. After waiting for a few minutes, the little blue dragon returned. It shook its head at Yang Tian, indicating that Qin Fei was not in the goddess palace. Yang Tian glanced at the observatory. Although there were many people on the observatory, there was no sign of Qin Fei. Where did she go? Yang Tian could not help but frown. He had a bad feeling in his heart. The temple was very big, and it was not easy to find one person. Moreover, the terrain had changed, so Yang Tian could not find Qin Fei in a short time. Yang Tian's plan was to take Qin Fei away in the chaos after the Superstar Divine Temple was defeated. Since the Superstar God Temple was no more, Qin Fei naturally would not be restricted. That way, he could live a normal life with Qin Fei. Yang Tian had experienced many things since he had cultivated to his current level. Naturally, he understood that there was an even more peculiar and vast world outside of this universe. However, Yang Tian was not like those top cultivators who were in a hurry to leave this universe. Because he was still very young, he had plenty of time. Furthermore, Yang Tian could guarantee that he would definitely cultivate to the great star god realm. Just like when he was on Earth, he had the confidence to become a level 9 martial artist. At the same time, there were many things waiting for Yang Tian to do in this universe. He did not know where Qin Fei was. Yang Tian was not in a hurry, because it was useless to be anxious. The battle outside could not be ended in a short time. Next, Yang Tian could only separate from the little blue dragon and search in the temple. Soon, Yang Tian arrived at the periphery of the builder's palace. Although the overall shape of the temple had changed, the builder's palace's protection array was still activated. This time, it was much easier to enter the builder's palace. With the help of the strange program, Yang Tian quickly entered the builder's palace. This time, besides sneaking in to take Qin Fei away, Yang Tian's other purpose was to steal the treasures in the builder's palace. Yang Tian was not as careful as before. He randomly chose a storage room. After breaking the array on the door, he immediately walked in. Seeing the stone boxes on the shelf, Yang Tian could not help but be excited. With the help of the strange program, Yang Tian quickly broke the array on the stone boxes. After opening a few boxes, he found that the things inside were still there. Yang Tian could not help but smile. There was no time to open these stone boxes one by one. As long as the things in the storage boxes were still there, it was fine. Yang Tian directly put the storage boxes into his storage bracelet, leaving the shelves empty. What made Yang Tian feel strange was that in the current situation, why did the high priests not put away these things? Yang Tian still did not know the reason. In fact, it was because the Superstar Divine Temple was preparing for a major event. They were confident that they could defeat the Temple of Eternal Life. Even if the Temple of Eternal Life sent out a giant beast and a large warship. There was no one in the architect's palace, and it had long been sealed. Yang Tian seemed to be a little unscrupulous. In almost less than a minute, he could put the storage boxes in the storage room into his storage bracelet. In less than an hour, Yang Tian put all the storage boxes in the architect's palace into his storage bracelet. For this operation, Yang Tian specially prepared a few empty storage bracelets. No matter how strong a fortress was, it could be broken from the inside. The high priests of the Superstar Divine Temple would never have thought that while they were fighting fiercely with the Temple of Eternal Life, the treasures that the Superstar Divine Temple had accumulated for countless years would be emptied by Yang Tian in less than an hour. After leaving the architect's palace, the little blue dragon returned and told Yang Tian that at the lowest level, many powerhouses had gathered together. The little blue dragon did not observe the situation below in detail. After noticing it, it immediately came to tell Yang Tian. Now that he had obtained the treasures of the Superstar Divine Temple, the only thing left was to take Qin Fei away. After the transformation, the temple's buildings were stacked into dozens of levels. The next level was a stone staircase in the middle. Now that there were no guards patrolling the temple and most of the people did not know each other, Yang Tian openly walked down the stone staircase to the next few levels. As he walked, many cultivators in black armor passed by Yang Tian. Perhaps because they were concerned about the battle outside, no one paid special attention to Yang Tian. Soon, Yang Tian arrived at the lowest level. While walking on the stone staircase, Yang Tian was keenly aware that there were hundreds of powerful auras below. These powerhouses must be the high priests of the Superstar Divine Temple. What made Yang Tian feel strange was that the auras emitted by these high priests were intermittent. After going down to the lowest level, a building that Yang Tian felt unfamiliar with appeared in front of his eyes. This was a building that was about 20 meters tall and was built with bluestone. It was shaped like a lotus. Bursts of energy fluctuations were emitted from inside. Clearly, this was a building that had been previously hidden inside the temple. What was this thing for? When Yang Tian saw this familiar building, he could not help but widen his eyes, his face filled with doubt. He was certain that this place was not used for living. The faintly discernible auras of the powerhouses were coming from inside. Yang Tian was certain that Qin Fei was also inside. Yang Tian, you still came back. Yang Tian was just about to approach this strange building, and even go inside to take a look, when he heard a familiar voice. High Priest Tai Yu. When Yang Tian heard this voice, he could not help but be startled and turn his head around. The person who appeared in front of him was indeed High Priest Tai Yu. High Priest Tai Yu walked towards Yang Tian with a smile on his face. Yang Tian took off his helmet and smiled at High Priest Tai Yu. High Priest, I came back to take a look. High Priest Tai Yu walked in front of Yang Tian and said with a smile, this old man knew that the defensive array glyphs outside would not be able to stop you. High Priest, how did you know it was me? Yang Tian asked casually after High Priest Tai Yu finished speaking. He was wearing a helmet just now. High Priest Tai Yu glanced at the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder and said, this astral beast and your armor. After saying this, High Priest Tai Yu immediately said, follow this old man. After saying this, High Priest Tai Yu turned around and walked towards the entrance of the strange building ahead. Yang Tian felt that something was very wrong, but he still obediently followed behind High Priest Tai Yu and walked through the square stone door. After passing through the door, they arrived at a winding stone path. The stone path was about 5 meters long and wide, and there was a superstar realm cultivator standing guard every 50 meters or so. The security was tight. If not for High Priest Tai Yu leading the way, it would have been almost impossible to easily enter. Chapter 594. The passage spiraled from the entrance all the way to the innermost part. Yang Tian followed behind Great Priest Tai Yu and walked for 10 minutes before arriving at a spacious stone room. As soon as he entered the room, Yang Tian's eyes were filled with blue. There was a tall altar in the middle of the room. It seemed to be made of blue water and was sparkling and translucent. It emitted a faint blue halo and gave off a dreamy feeling. The altar was also in the shape of a lotus flower. Because it was so high up, Yang Tian couldn't see what was inside. Hong Yuju frowned when he saw Great Priest Tai Yu bring Yang Tian in. He knew about the relationship between Yang Tian and the goddess. Great Priest Kaya glanced at Yang Tian and said to Great Priest Tai Yu in a dissatisfied tone, "Great Priest Tai Yu, why did you bring him in? Don't you know that this matter is very important to the temple?" Great Priest Tai Yu glanced at Yang Tian and said with a smile, "It's the biggest mistake to leave him outside. If he's right under our noses, he won't be able to do anything. Isn't that right?" Before Great Priest Tai Yu finished speaking, Yang Tian was startled. "Yang Tian, we all know about the relationship between you and the goddess. You'll have to suffer a little." The one who spoke was Great Priest Mei Chen. PFFF. As soon as Great Priest Mei Chen finished speaking, Yang Tian jumped up and pounced toward the altar. He didn't need to guess to know that Qin Fei was inside. Yang Tian didn't want Qin Fei to become a sacrifice for the Superstar Divinity Temple. However, while his body was still in the air, he was suddenly bound by a powerful force. Even the little blue dragon on his shoulder couldn't move. Yang Tian, who was bound, was pulled back and smashed onto the ground with a bang. During this process, Yang Tian saw Qin Fei lying in the middle of the flower-shaped altar. She was wearing a white dress, and her hands were crossed on her chest. Her eyes were closed, and her expression was serene as if she was sleeping. You, what do you want?" After landing, Yang Tian gritted his teeth as he struggled with all his might. Great Priest Mei Chen was restraining Yang Tian. Although Great Priest Mei Chen's power was not as strong as Tianhun's, it still made it difficult for Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to move and attack. High Priest Kaya looked at Yang Tian and said calmly, "Yang Tian, don't worry. The Divine Daughter will be fine. She will become very powerful. Do you know why we are called priests and not priests? Because us old fellows are the real sacrificial offerings." After High Priest Kaya finished speaking, Yang Tian was stunned. What did that mean? Seeing Yang Tian's puzzled expression, Hong Yuju said calmly, "You don't have to think too much. You will understand in a while." After Hong Yuju finished speaking, he said to the other high priests, "There is not much time left. Let's begin." Then, hundreds of high priests walked to the front of the altar and surrounded it. Yang Tian looked around and noticed that there were a total of 108 great shamans present. Yang Tian had seen most of the high priests before. Although he did not know their names, they looked familiar. Other than Great Priest Mei Chen, who was looking at Yang Tian, the other high priests around the altar closed their eyes and began to chant something that Yang Tian could not understand. It sounded like a ballad. Amidst the buzzing sounds, the altar gradually lit up, and bright runes flashed on it. The strange thing was that these runes actually slowly floated out of the altar and rose to the top of the altar, forming a spiral pattern that looked like a galaxy. During this process, powerful energy waves were emitted. Goddess Shi Chen, who was standing on the observatory far away, felt the energy waves and smiled. Things were developing according to her plan. When she looked at the cultivators fighting in front of her, a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. However, she quickly hid this emotion. After calming herself down, Goddess Shi Chen said, "Black Talisman Lord, let's begin." Black Talisman Lord, who was controlling the devouring bug, nodded and urged it to charge toward the superstar divine temple. Although the devouring bug was huge, its speed was extremely fast. It swung its tail and suddenly accelerated. In the blink of an eye, it had traveled dozens of kilometers. At this speed, it would not take more than 3 minutes for the devouring bug to collide with the superstar divine temple. Between the Temple of Eternal Life and the superstar divine temple was a huge battlefield. After an intense battle, the area was littered with the broken corpses of cultivators. In less than 2 hours, more than 70% of the cultivators had died in this star field. Most of the dead cultivators were cultivators who had been modified. If they had known this would happen, they would not have accepted the modification. As it moved forward, the devouring worm opened its mouth and sucked countless severed limbs into its mouth. Black Talisman Lord did not stop the devouring bug. He was looking forward to the devouring bug's performance. Seeing the huge devouring bug charging toward them, the cultivators who were fighting between the two temples dodged to the side. At this point in the battle, the superstar realm cultivators of the two temples had nothing to do with them. After dodging, they calmed down from the slaughter and ignored the protectors. They scattered and fled into the distance. On the Temple of Eternal Life side, Gao Yuan swung his saber and released saber energy that killed dozens of Temple of Eternal Life soldiers who were trying to escape. Such a sharp massacre did not frighten anyone. Thousands of soldiers continued to flee in a frenzy. Just as he was about to swing his saber again and slash out a space of annihilation so that the escaping soldiers would walk right into the trap, Grand Duke Hong stopped him and said, "Gao Yuan, forget it. Lady Goddess is about to achieve her goal. Let them go." "All right." Gao Yuan frowned and nodded. On the Superstar God Temple's side, the protectors also retreated. Great Priest Empty God looked at the devouring bug and sneered, "Everyone, it's time for us to attack." With that, Great Priest Empty God raised his hand and waved it forward. The hundreds of great star lords and great star gods behind him all moved and charged toward the devouring bug. The Superstar God Temple sent out their strongest forces, but the Temple of Eternal Life did not move. The devouring bug had grown to its current level, and its ability was terrifying. According to Goddess Shichen's plan, this terrifying devouring bug could kill more than half of the enemies. When it was still thousands of kilometers away from the Superstar God Temple, the Temple of Eternal Life on the devouring bug's back broke away. Without the Temple of Eternal Life's interference, the devouring bug suddenly sped up. In the process of moving at high speed, this big guy swallowed a large number of Superstar Realm cultivators' corpses and obtained enough energy to transform again. It should be known that most Superstar Realm cultivators had undergone modifications, and the original cells in their body cells had not been fully released. When these people became corpses and were eaten by the devouring bug, it benefited the devouring bug. Black Talisman Lord, who was standing on the devouring bug's head, knew that the talisman artifact that had been injected into the devouring bug's body could no longer control it, so he immediately left the devouring bug and returned to the Temple of Eternal Life. Gugugu, without Black Talisman Lord's restraint, the devouring bug stared at the hundreds of people in front of it and let out an excited cry. To it, these people were fresh food. When they were still hundreds of kilometers away from the devouring bug, the hundreds of powerhouses from the Superstar God Temple suddenly stopped and spread out, forming an arc formation to meet the devouring bug. As soon as the formation was formed, the hundreds of powerhouses released the most powerful attack of their lives at the same time and swept toward the devouring bug. This kind of attack energy gathered together formed an extremely wide range of spatial annihilation, which was enough to engulf the devouring bug's huge body. In the face of this destructive attack, the devouring bug opened its mouth and spat out. The space in front of it was immediately compressed, forming an extremely solid spatial energy wall. When the spatial annihilation came into contact with this wall, it actually split into two and slid to the sides, charging into the distance. Such a powerful attack had been neutralized by the devouring bug. The powerhouses from the superstar god temple could not help but widen their eyes. Chapter 595. The space annihilation, which had been split into two, swept into the distance at an extremely fast speed. Many people and spaceships who were watching the battle from the periphery were instantly swept in and silently turned into space particles, becoming the sacrificial lambs of this battle. After resolving this attack, the devouring bug let out an angry and strange cry. Then, its huge body moved and accelerated again, rushing toward the cultivators in front of it. In a few blinks of an eye, the devouring bug was less than 100 kilometers away from the powerhouses of the Superstar Divinity Temple. During this process, the fleshy feelers next to the devouring bug's mouth stretched out like lightning, forming a huge net of flesh that covered the cultivators in front of it. What was surprising was that these golden fleshy feelers could actually pass through space, forming layers of afterimages as they stretched out rapidly. At first glance, the fleshy feelers were still dozens of kilometers away, but in the blink of an eye, they were already in front of them. At the same time, strange energy waves were emitted from the devouring bug's body, forming a strange domain within dozens of kilometers of its body. This ability could only be used by great star divinity realm powerhouses. The fact that the devouring bug could create a domain meant that it had become a great star divinity realm beast in a short period of time. The cultivators of the Superstar Divinity Temple could no longer launch a joint attack because they were no longer united. Facing this behemoth, deep fear had already appeared in their hearts. Facing the incoming fleshy feelers, they all dodged extremely quickly, but the space had become extremely rigid. The cultivators who were close suddenly found that they had fallen into a swamp. The cultivators of the Divine Hall, who were major star lords, couldn't even move. It seemed that the golden fleshy feelers were about to form a circle and surround their slower companions. Break! All of a sudden, a red-robed high priest appeared, roared, and slashed out with his saber. A powerful sword aura was emitted from the blade. This slash looked like it had cut open space, forming a pitch-black stripe that rolled toward the countless fleshy feelers in front of it. This fierce slash indeed cut off the fleshy feelers, leaving a gap. However, soon after, it quickly grew out from where the flesh tentacle was cut off. Like a tree root, it once again spread out. The worm had a huge appetite. It intended to devour dozens of star lords. Seeing this, the red-robed high priest was shocked. He raised his blade again and slashed out. The same thing happened again. Although the tentacles were easy to cut, they seemed to be able to extend indefinitely. It was like a long thread, and only a short part of it was cut off. This would give people the illusion that there was no end to the fleshy tentacles. The red-robed great priest was not the only one who attacked. The other great priests also attacked the fleshy tentacles. Some people desperately tried to cut off the tentacles, but even more people came to the sides and back of the devouring insect and attacked it. Only then did they realize that the big guy's body was indestructible. It was like a solid, high-hardness alloy. When the attacks of the great star god realm powerhouses landed on its body, they could only form a hole that was a dozen or so meters wide. The devouring insect was so huge that this kind of damage could not even be considered a wound. It was just like a scratch on the surface of a human's skin. The devouring insect's recovery ability was also shocking. After being wounded, it would instantly recover. From the looks of it, it was as if the attack launched by a great star god realm expert had been discounted. Under these circumstances, the Superstar God Temple's cultivators would not hold back. They wanted to immediately kill the powerful exotic beast in front of them, so they all used their full strength. The reason why this was happening was because the devouring insect had a powerful domain around its body. The space around its body had been frozen, and most of the energy that was attacking it had been used up by this defense. Even the great star god realm's space annihilation could not do much damage when it hit the devouring insect. Under these circumstances, they could not work together to attack it again. Just as the tentacles were about to close together into a giant meatball, High Priest Empty God, who had been standing still, finally made his move. In a flash, he appeared on top of the devouring insect's head. He flipped in the air and rushed down with his head facing down. He punched toward the devouring insect's head near its neck. Bang! There was a loud sound. The destructive power of High Priest Empty God's attack was something that other great star god realm cultivators could not compare to. This was because when High Priest Empty God attacked, his realm had broken through the great star god realm in a short period of time and reached a new realm. After a loud sound, High Priest Empty God's punch penetrated the devouring insect's head, and a hole with a diameter of dozens of meters appeared. The reason why High Priest Empty God did not move was because he was observing the devouring insect. This attack was what he estimated to be the devouring insect's weakness. Roar! This attack caused great damage to the devouring insect. It opened its mouth and let out a painful howl. Naturally, it retracted its tentacles. At the same time, the surrounding spatial energy fluctuated unstably. The trapped cultivators took this opportunity to quickly escape and stay far away. Seeing this, Goddess Shichen frowned. To her, the only variable in her plan was High Priest Empty God. Many years ago, High Priest Empty God was already at the peak of the great star god realm. If he consumed a part of He Luoyang's body cells, he might be able to break through to the great star god realm. The Temple of Eternal Life naturally had powerful great star gods as well. However, even if they consumed He Luoyang's body cells, they could not compare to High Priest Empty God. It should be known that in this universe, the highest level of life that could exist was a great star god realm life form. If one did not have good control of energy, even if they broke through to the great star god realm, they would not be able to exert power beyond the great star god realm. However, an old monster like High Priest Empty God could. At this time, Goddess Shichen had no choice but to act personally. She was the only one who could fight against High Priest Empty God. The devouring insect suffered great damage. It howled in pain and rolled around in the void. High Priest Empty God was about to attack and kill the devouring insect when he saw a figure appear in front of him. Whoosh! A fierce attack came. High Priest Empty God's figure flashed and dodged the attack. After stopping, High Priest Empty God looked at Shichen Yuyu, who was hovering in the distance, and said with a cold smile, "Shichen, you finally can't take it anymore." Shichen Yuyu ignored High Priest Empty God. She stared at High Priest Empty God and narrowed her eyes. In an instant, a powerful spirit power swept toward High Priest Empty God. The spirit power was extremely powerful. It gave High Priest Empty God the feeling that it was as if countless planets were forming a river and rushing toward him. Faced with such a spirit power, High Priest Empty God did not dare to stay any longer. He moved and tore open space and disappeared from where he was. Goddess Shichen's expression did not change as she suddenly disappeared as well. Boom! When the two of them reappeared, they were already tens of thousands of kilometers away. A gaseous planet was shattered by High Priest Empty God's palm. The powerful explosion created a powerful shock wave that caused the empty gods around them to distort. Goddess Shichen, who was hiding in the empty gods, was forced out. She appeared behind High Priest Empty God and slammed her palm toward High Priest Empty God. The palm looked ordinary, but there was an extremely powerful spatial power that pressed down on High Priest Empty God. High Priest Empty God had no choice but to quickly dodge. Goddess Shichen suddenly pulled back her palm. The spatial power that was pressing down on him was pulled back, and the shock wave from the planet's explosion was pulled back. Chapter 596. The destructive power of the battle between the two ultimate powerhouses was simply too great. The gigantic devouring bug paled in comparison to the battle between the two. The people who came to watch the battle were so frightened that they immediately distanced themselves as far away as possible. They were afraid that they would be affected by the battle between the two. Otherwise, they would end up in a worse state than those who had come before. The Shichen goddess and the empty god high priest seemed to be on par in terms of cultivation realm and battle strength. The victor should not be decided in a short period of time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the cultivators of the Temple of Eternal Life finally made their move and rushed toward the Superstar Divine Temple. The cultivators of the Superstar Divine Temple also immediately went to meet them. The devouring bug suffered a great deal of damage. After a painful struggle, it suddenly stopped moving, as if it had died. The light on its body also dimmed. From afar, the gigantic devouring bug looked like a meteor floating in the universe. However, the life aura it exuded did not weaken at all. It was obvious that this big guy had entered a short period of hibernation to recover its damaged body. The cultivators of the Superstar Divine Temple wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to completely eliminate the devouring bug, but the people of the Temple of Eternal Life rushed over. They had few people to begin with, so they had no choice but to mobilize all of them. They could only temporarily put the devouring bug aside. In the sacrificial chamber, Yang Tian did not give up struggling even when High Priest Mei Chen took out a projector to show the situation outside. When Yang Tian saw the empty god High Priest display his might and severely injure the devouring bug, he thought that the Superstar Divine Temple had a chance of winning. They would not continue this sacrificial ritual that he found strange and would injure the high priests at the same time, would they? However, the great shamans didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. They were still chanting incantations from their mouths, and they didn't stop at all. Some time had already passed, and the spiraling runes floating above the altar were getting clearer and clearer. The strange program told Yang Tian that there were many types of runes. When they were grouped together, it looked like a teleportation formation disk, but it also looked like a type of energy transmission device. Because Yang Tian was unable to see a portion of it clearly, the strange program was unable to calculate the function of this rune array within a short period of time. The battle outside had already reached its final stage. Yang Tian saw some of the high priests he was familiar with being besieged and killed in the endless starry sky. Many of the Eternal Temple's experts had also perished. Most of these people had lived for tens of thousands of years. It was not easy for them to grow from ordinary cultivators to their current level. However, in such a battle they had all died. Was it worth it? Why was that? More questions appeared in Yang Tian's mind at that moment. Can't you just sit down and have a good talk and solve all the problems peacefully? They insisted on fighting to the death. Even if we win in the end, both sides will suffer. Yang Tian finally couldn't help but ask calmly. However, High Priest Mei Chen said, Yang Tian, you're saying this because you're still outside the circle and don't understand everything. Great Shaman, please tell me about it, Yang Tian said. High Priest Mei Chen glanced at his companions who were concentrating on the ceremony, walked over and sat in front of Yang Tian, and said, The Superstar Divinity Temple represents the conservative side of the universe. On the other hand, Goddess Shichen's Temple of Eternal Life represents the radical side. After saying that, High Priest Mei Chen looked at Yang Tian's puzzled look and asked Yang Tian with a smile, If the planet you're on has always been a closed environment with no contact with the outside world, the people on the planet do not know the outside world. The humans on this planet don't know about the outside world. At the same time, your strength is very weak. Are you willing to let it appear on the star map at this time? The situation described by High Priest Mei Chen was exactly the same as the situation on Earth. Facing this question, Yang Tian shook his head. Of course not. If it appears on the star map, the humans on our planet will definitely be enslaved. After Yang Tian finished speaking, High Priest Mei Chen nodded and said with a smile, it seems that you also belong to our conservative faction. Our universe is actually a sealed world. It has no direct connection with the outside world. Luo Yangli accidentally broke into this place and took Shi Chen away from this world, allowing Shi Chen to see a completely different world. After Shi Chen returned, she had an idea in her heart. She wanted to connect this universe to the outside world and become the first pioneer of this universe. At that time, the high priests of the temple discovered her idea and had to stop her. Perhaps even she herself did not know the true purpose of He Luo Yangli. Perhaps even if she knew, she would think that she was right. He Luo Yangli wanted to become our god. After saying that, High Priest Mei Chen pointed at Yang Tian's chest. Yang Tian could not help but be startled. Although he did not say it explicitly, Yang Tian still understood what High Priest Mei Chen meant. At this time, Yang Tian thought of his original realm. The energy world in his body was too similar to the universe world. He Luo Yangli wanted to become the god of this universe. Did she want to incorporate this universe world into her body? Let this universe world become her energy world? Could it be done? Seeing Yang Tian's constantly changing expression, High Priest Mei Chen nodded and knew that Yang Tian had already guessed some of it. He said, "Therefore, we will not allow her to do that. Although this is just our guess, we won't allow it to happen." Yang Tian thought for a while and said, "Goddess Shi Chen is such a smart person. She should understand this principle, right? What substantial benefit does this bring to her?" High Priest Mei Chen shook his head. "Only Shi Chen herself will understand this. She has always been thinking about resurrecting He Luo Yangli. Many years ago, she began to plot. She used the means of that world to put herself into a deep sleep and use time to destroy the most powerful enemy. Now she has finally forced us into a desperate situation." "Impossible," Yang Tian said. "Goddess Shi Chen hasn't been in a deep sleep for long, right? For example, when people like Gao Yuan and Grand Duke Hong were working in the Superstar Divine Temple, Shi Chen was already a goddess." After Yang Tian finished speaking, High Priest Mei Chen said, "The people who participated in that battle were all hit by He Luo Yangli's time law. Otherwise, the older generation of high priests would still be in charge of the Superstar Divine Temple." "Who is that man in black? The one riding the blue bird?" Yang Tian asked again. High Priest Mei Chen said, "He is one of the first high priests of the Superstar Divine Temple. We don't know his name. We only know that there is a group of people who silently guard this world. We also call them guardians or overseers. There was a saying that the more you know, the more ignorant you will find yourself." That was what Yang Tian was feeling right now. Some of the doubts in his heart had finally been answered. However, more questions appeared in his mind. This question even made Yang Tian begin to doubt the way this world existed. For example, when Yang Tian was studying on Earth, he thought that the world humans lived in was illusory. All objects, life, everything was a program running in an advanced computer. Many questions appeared at the same time, making Yang Tian feel his head swell. He had to give up thinking and said to High Priest Mei Chen, "What do you want to do with Xiao Fei?" High Priest Mei Chen said, "You will know soon. Yang Tian, you are very lucky to be able to see such a big scene at such a young age." Chapter 597. Yang Tian's heart was unable to calm down for a long time. He did not know when, but Great Priest Mei Chen had released the restrictions on his mind. When he saw that the little blue dragon had regained its ability to move and was about to rush into the altar, Yang Tian finally came back to his senses. Even if he knew a lot of things, Yang Tian would not allow anything to happen to Qin Fei since he was on the Superstar Divinity Temple's side. At most, after saving Qin Fei, he would once again consume those special cells and work with Great Priest Kong Shen to defeat Goddess Shi Chen. Right now, he had to save Qin Fei. Boom! Just as Yang Tian was about to make his move, there was a loud bang, and the ground shook violently. From the projection, it could be seen that other than Goddess Shi Chen and Great Priest Kong Shen, who were missing, the cultivators from the Temple of Eternal Life were already close to the temple. With the rune's energy blocking, the cultivators from the Temple of Eternal Life could not break in, so they began to attack the rune's energy defense. After the loud bang, there was another series of attacks. The gigantic spaceship formed by the temple began to tremble. Even so, the great priests around the altar still had their eyes closed as they calmly chanted the incantation. At this time, it could be seen that the runes above the altar were even brighter, and they were spinning faster and faster. A blue light was projected from these runes and shone on Qin Fei, who was at the center of the altar. As for the high priests, their bodies were also surrounded by blue runes that suddenly appeared. Yang Tian, you can't stop it now. If you want to destroy the ritual, Her Highness will die. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try. After Great Priest Mei Chen finished speaking to Yang Tian, he threw the little blue dragon in his hand to Yang Tian. Then, he joined the others in chanting the incantation. For Great Priest Mei Chen, his task of guarding Yang Tian was completed. Yang Tian looked at the altar and the great shamans whose expressions were getting more and more solemn. His emotions were extremely complicated. Although he didn't fully believe High Priest Mei Chen's words, he didn't dare to stop such a ceremony. He could only watch helplessly, unable to do anything. Unknowingly, Shi Chen Yuyu and Archpriest Kong Shen had already traveled hundreds of light years through countless spatial transformations and pursuit. At this moment, the battle between Shi Chen Yuyu and Archpriest Kong Shen was about to come to an end. After such a long battle, the two of them had consumed a lot of energy. Compared to before, their combat strength was much weaker. The two of them had not been fighting in this star field for long, but they had destroyed hundreds of planets and a huge star. This was originally a star field that was worth developing, but now it had turned dark. In the universe, the existence of every planet was the result of the natural evolution of the universe. After a planet, especially a star, was destroyed, the surrounding space would change, creating a chain reaction. The results of such changes could not be seen in a short period of time, but after a long time, it might evolve into a disaster that could destroy the entire galaxy. Although they understood this point, they couldn't care less. Boom! The two of them flashed and collided with each other again. The violent collision of energy bounced the two of them away. Between them, the center of the collision of energy quickly formed a space collapse. It was a black dot. As soon as it appeared, it created a powerful attractive force that sucked in all the matter in the universe nearby. When this happened before, the dot would disappear in a flash. However, the strange thing was that this time, the black dot kept on getting bigger and bigger, and the attractive force became stronger as well. It was like a black hole. Almost in an instant, the black hole became the size of a soccer ball. In the blink of an eye, it became a black hole with a diameter of dozens of meters. As it kept on getting bigger, the attractive force also increased exponentially. Shi Chen Goddess and Archpriest Kong Shen, who had just separated, were attracted by this powerful attractive force. Their bodies flew toward the black hole uncontrollably. Archpriest Kong Shen was shocked and wanted to break through space to escape. However, the nearby space and time were already distorted. As soon as the broken Archpriest Kong Shen's tunnel was formed, he disappeared before he could escape. Left with no choice, Archpriest Kong Shen could only use all his power to unleash a powerful attack on the black hole. However, in this short period of time, the black hole expanded several times and became a true bottomless pit. The power of Archpriest Kong Shen's attack was absorbed by the black hole. A helpless smile appeared on Archpriest Kong Shen's face. To him, there was nothing else he could do. As he flew toward the black hole, Archpriest Kong Shen glanced at his surroundings. Because space and time were distorted, Archpriest Kong Shen could not see Shi Chen Goddess. However, he guessed that Shi Qin Yuyu's fate must be the same as his. In this universe, the only thing that great astral gods could not touch was the black hole. Just as he was about to enter the black hole, Archpriest Kong Shen remembered when he was young, the first time he saw Shi Qin Yuyu, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Archpriest Kong Shen entered the black hole, but Shi Qin Yuyu did not. At this critical moment, a rune artifact that looked like a compass appeared in her hand. She pressed a button on the rune artifact and threw it toward the black hole. During this process, the rune artifact released powerful rune energy and formed a normal space and time in a certain area. Shi Qin Yuyu's figure flashed and entered the space and time created by the rune artifact. In the next moment, when she reappeared, she was already millions of kilometers away. As soon as she appeared, the black hole exploded and created a powerful spatial annihilation. The spatial annihilation spread out in all directions at a speed close to the speed of light. In a few seconds, it approached Shi Qin Yuyu. At the edge of the spatial annihilation, Shi Qin Yuyu kept retreating. During this process, she realized that the power of the spatial annihilation was rapidly weakening, and she breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, she was the one who had created this black hole. She had used the method of the outside world. In order to get rid of Archpriest Kong Shen, Shi Qin Yuyu had taken a risk and almost lost her own life. In less than 3 minutes, the spatial annihilation disappeared. The star sector that had been destroyed by her and Great Priest Empty God was now completely empty. There was nothing left. For Shi Qin Yuyu, the only variable had been removed by her. The next step was the final step. She did not know if the people from the Superstar Divine Temple were ready. Looking in the direction of the Superstar Divine Temple, Shi Qin Yuyu smiled faintly and disappeared from this star sector. In the sacrificial chamber, the ceremony had reached its final moment. Following the continuous chanting, the energy fluctuations on the great priests' bodies weakened rapidly. The power of time also appeared on their bodies at the same time. In less than a minute, all the great priests had become extremely old. It was as if they had experienced tens of thousands of years in an instant. During this process, their life auras also became weaker and weaker. Yang Tian could not help but shout, "Hurry up and stop! Otherwise you will all die." This was Yang Tian's instinctive shout. These great priests did not have any enmity with Yang Tian. When he was in the Superstar Divine Temple, other than Archpriest Kong Shen, these people were all very good to Yang Tian. Yang Tian naturally did not want them to die like this. However, no one paid attention to Yang Tian. Outside the altar, there was a powerful rune energy. Yang Tian wanted to stop it, but he was powerless. Boom! Suddenly, there was another tremor. At the same time, there was the sound of the most violent explosion. Yang Tian knew that the Superstar Divine Temple's energy defense had been breached. At this time, the great priests had finally completed the ceremony. They all fell weakly to the ground. Luckily, they were not dead. However, the runes above the altar were still circling and releasing energy toward the center of the altar. Chapter 598. The great priests had already stopped. Where did this energy come from? Yang Tian looked at the rune array and saw that the great priests who had fallen to the ground had no strength at all. He quickly went forward and took out Star Warrior level beast cores from his storage bracelet and fed them to them. The great priests' bodies had become very weak, so Yang Tian did not dare to feed them higher level beast cores. At this time, the people of the Temple of Eternal Life had already rushed into the temple. The sound of fighting could already be heard outside. However, most of the people who stayed in the temple were low-level cultivators. When they saw the great star god powerhouses of the Temple of Eternal Life, many of them chose to surrender. Yang Tian took out a saber from his storage bracelet and used it to block the entrance. The little blue dragon lying on Yang Tian's shoulder was also staring coldly at the entrance, ready to fight at any time. After a few sounds of fighting came from outside, The guards guarding here were quickly killed. A moment later, a person carrying a large knife walked in. It was Gao Yuan. Ha ha ha! After seeing Yang Tian, Gao Yuan laughed loudly, looking very happy. However, Yang Tian did not laugh, because Gao Yuan might be an enemy to him now. Seeing Yang Tian's vigilant look, Gao Yuan said, "Kid, how long has it been? Don't you recognize me?" "Of course I do." "You." For a moment, Yang Tian did not know what to say. Yang Tian did not expect that the first person to come in would be Gao Yuan. Gao Yuan had done him a favor, but he could not let them in at this time. Firstly, he was afraid that they would disturb Qin Fei. Secondly, he did not want the great priests to be hurt. "Forget it, I won't make things difficult for you." Gao Yuan put down the knife on his shoulder and stabbed it into the ground. He turned around and looked behind him. A series of heavy footsteps sounded, and a group of Temple of Eternal Life soldiers in silver-white armor appeared. When the group of soldiers reached the entrance, Gao Yuan raised his hand. The group of soldiers stopped and stood on both sides of the passage. Soon, Shi Chen, who was wearing a black dress, walked over quietly. Behind her was a large number of great star god realm cultivators. If the high priests of the Superstar God Temple had not been drained of their energy because of this strange ritual, there would have been a fierce battle. But now, the Superstar Divine Temple seemed to have been completely defeated. When Shi Chen saw Yang Tian blocking the entrance, he smiled faintly and walked towards Yang Tian. She only stopped when she was one step away from Yang Tian. For cultivators, this was an ambiguous distance. Yang Tian could smell the faint fragrance coming from Shi Chen's body. Although Yang Tian held the saber, he did not move because he knew that with his current strength, it was impossible to defeat Shi Chen Yuyu. Great Priest Kong Shen did not return, so he was either seriously injured or dead. "Yang Tian, get out of the way! I promised you that I would not hurt your woman." Shi Chen glanced behind Yang Tian and said faintly. Yang Tian said faintly, "You also have to promise that you will not hurt the great priest and the others." Shi Chen nodded with a smile and replied straightforwardly, "All right." Such a straightforward answer left Yang Tian at a loss for what to do. While he was hesitating, the altar behind Yang Tian changed. Qin Fei, who had been sleeping, finally woke up. When she opened her eyes, a powerful energy fluctuation erupted from her body. Soon, Qin Fei, who was sitting cross-legged, flew into the air. A light flashed between her eyebrows and a red dot appeared. It looked like a large beauty mark or an eye. Qin Fei looked dignified and holy at the moment. However, her eyes seemed a little dazed. When Yang Tian saw Qin Fei's current appearance, he was stunned for a moment before calling out softly, "Little Fei." When she heard Yang Tian's voice, Qin Fei's eyes became clear as if she had recognized Yang Tian. But in an instant she became dazed again. Goddess Shi Chen and a large group of people behind her rushed into the sacrificial chamber and suddenly prostrated themselves on the ground. Goddess Shi Chen was more respectful than anyone else. After bowing, she said a lot of words that Yang Tian could not understand. Not long after, Qin Fei closed her eyes and suddenly disappeared from the sacrificial chamber. Along with her, the talisman array that was floating above her head disappeared as well. A look of excitement appeared on Shi Chen's face. He stood up and looked up. Boom! Shi Chen Yuyu used her powerful spiritual power and blasted a hole with a diameter of dozens of meters in the sacrificial chamber. Then, she disappeared as well. The elites from the Temple of Eternal Life that came with Shi Chen Yuyu immediately rushed out of the hole and followed Shi Chen Yu. Yang Tian looked at the archpriest. Seeing that they were fine, he immediately jumped up and rushed out of the hole above them. After coming out of the giant spaceship that the Superstar Divinity Temple had transformed into, Yang Tian immediately saw a dot that was emitting blue light in the distance. The elites from the Temple of Eternal Life were chasing after this dot. Yang Tian immediately moved and followed them. After a few minutes, the blue dot finally stopped. When he got closer, Yang Tian realized that the blue dot was Qin Fei. This was actually within his expectations. Qin Fei was now standing quietly in the void with her eyes closed and a faint smile on her face. Behind her was a talisman array that was constantly spinning. This made Qin Fei look like Guanyin. That's right. She was Guanyin. In China's ancient myths, Guanyin appeared in front of people's eyes in this manner. In all the movies and dramas that Yang Tian had seen, there had never been an actress who could act out Guanyin's appearance so realistically. At this time, Yang Tian felt like he was going crazy. Outside Qin Fei's body, the spatial energy was constantly fluctuating, making her seem unreal. Even Shi Chen Yuyu, who had surpassed the great star god level, could not get close to her at this time. Xiao Fei Yang Tian used his spiritual power to call out to the current Qin Fei, hoping that Qin Fei would remember him. The previous situation made Yang Tian realize that Qin Fei no longer remembered him. It was as if another person's soul had appeared in Qin Fei's body. However, no matter how Yang Tian called out to her, Qin Fei ignored him. Chirp! At this time, a clear chirp of a bird could be heard from afar. As soon as it heard this sound, the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder opened its eyes wide and looked in the direction of the sound. The one who came was the mysterious masked man in black. Under his feet was a huge green bird. When the little blue dragon saw this green bird, it was very excited. What surprised Yang Tian was that as soon as the masked man in black arrived, he simply raised his hand and slapped toward Qin Fei. At this moment, a black line was released from his hand and rolled toward Qin Fei. This black line did not emit a strong energy fluctuation, but it easily pierced through the distorted space around Qin Fei's body. Just as this black line was about to wrap around Qin Fei suddenly opened her eyes. A blue light flashed in her eyes, and the black line that was attacking her disappeared into thin air. After his attack failed, the masked man in black shook his head. The green bird under his feet took a deep look at the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder, then turned around and disappeared in a flash. The expression of the masked man in black seemed to be very disappointed. At this time, when Yang Tian saw Shi Chen's gloomy face, his expression relaxed. When the masked man in black arrived just now, she seemed very nervous. As soon as the masked man in black left, Qin Fei's body emitted a faint blue halo. 1,000 meters in front of her, a big black hole appeared. As soon as this black hole appeared, Qin Fei raised her hand and pointed. Around this black hole, countless blue dots appeared. Yang Tian suddenly felt that Qin Fei was about to leave him. He could not help but reach out his hand to Qin Fei and shouted, "Little Fei, don't go." Qin Fei turned around and glanced at Yang Tian. A complicated expression flashed across her eyes. She then smiled and turned into a blue light as she charged into the black hole. Chapter 599. This passageway must be a passageway to another world. When it appeared, Shi Chen's eyes were filled with pleasant surprise. To her, her goal had been achieved. Entering this passageway would bring her to another world. From then on, this universe would be connected to the other world. Cultivators in this universe could enter the other world. Of course, cultivators from the other world could also enter this universe through this passageway. Looking at the pitch-black entrance in front of him, Yang Tian felt heartache. Because Qin Fei had disappeared again, and this time, she had lost her memory. Yang Tian, you have contributed greatly to the success of this matter. Follow us into that new world. This is also a kind of reward for you. Shi Chen looked at Yang Tian's sad appearance and said with a smile. As he said this, Shi Chen's face was filled with a sense of accomplishment. However, Yang Tian shook his head and said indifferently, "You guys go. I will definitely go to the other side of the world, but not now." Shi Chen shook his head. Without the mighty sky warship, even a great star god would be crushed by the spatial energy in the passageway. For you, this is your only chance. What Shi Chun didn't know was that Yang Tian could also build the mighty sky warship, and the quality of the new warship would definitely be better than the current one. Therefore, Yang Tian wasn't worried about this problem at all. Staring at Shi Chen's eyes, Yang Tian said, "Before you leave, I want to ask a few questions." While the two were talking, Black Talisman Lord had already steered the mighty sky warship over. "Speak." Shi Chen glanced at the rapidly approaching warship and nodded. Yang Tian said in a questioning tone, "Once this passageway is opened, the powerhouses from the other world can smoothly come to this universe. I know that He Luoyang is just an ordinary cultivator in that world. Ordinary humans from that world can become supreme powerhouses when they come to this world. Don't tell me you really don't care about the creatures in this universe?" Shi Chen said faintly. "You're afraid that cultivators from another world will come to this world and enslave the humans of this world, right?" Yang Tian nodded and frowned. "We're not ready yet." Shi Chen shook his head faintly. "Yang Tian, don't underestimate the cultivators of this world. Even if something like that really happened, it would only be a short period of pain. You are also a cultivator. When you enter the great star god realm, you will understand that without this passage, the following time will be a kind of torture." Yang Tian suddenly felt that he should not have brought up this issue at all. He now had different opinions from Shi Chen Yuyu. After Shi Chen finished speaking, Yang Tian asked again, "Why did Xiao Fei become like this?" This was what Yang Tian was most concerned about. Shi Chen said faintly, "They used the talisman formation to allow the experts of the ancient times to descend upon the goddess. Although such experts do not have a complete consciousness, they have incomparably powerful abilities. Even the supervisor cannot defeat her." After Shi Chen goddess finished speaking, Yang Tian understood everything. However, what puzzled him was that those high priests of the superstar god temple, since they were against connecting to another world, why did they do this? This was equivalent to indirectly helping Shi Chen Yuyu. Seeing Yang Tian's puzzled look, Shi Chen Yuyu knew what Yang Tian was thinking. He smiled and said, "You can ask them the rest of the questions. Since you've given up, I can only say goodbye to you. I hope that one day we can meet in another world." After Shi Chen finished speaking, he brought people to board the mighty sky warship. The mighty sky warship accelerated in the void and quickly turned into a ray of light and rushed into the passage. After this passage was formed, it had expanded many times. Now, its diameter had reached tens of kilometers. It quietly floated in space like a black mirror. At the edge of this black mirror, there was a circle of blue light spots. It was the existence of these light spots that maintained the existence of this spatial passage. This spatial passage couldn't be allowed to exist. Yang Tian came from Earth, so he naturally understood that if this passage remained open, it would simply be a disaster for the beings of another world to come to this universe. Yang Tian stood in front of the spatial tunnel. He raised his hand and blasted his strongest attack at the spatial tunnel. However, when his power approached the spatial passage, it seemed to have entered a bottomless pit and disappeared without a trace. "It's useless." Yang Tian gritted his teeth and was about to blast out a second palm when a familiar voice sounded behind him. "High Priest Tai Yu." Yang Tian turned around. The one who spoke was High Priest Tai Yu. In addition to High Priest Tai Yu, the other High Priests had also arrived. Compared to before, the High Priest's expressions were much better. Yang Tian frowned and said, "The existence of this passage is also thanks to all of you. What do you think we should do now?" To be honest, Yang Tian couldn't bring himself to be angry when he saw how powerless the High Priests were. High Priest Tai Yu smiled wryly. "Shi Chen is indeed powerful. I didn't expect her to be able to break through our will. We miscalculated and did her a great favor." After High Priest Tai Yu finished speaking, Yang Tian recalled what Goddess Shi Chen had said in the sacrificial chamber. That language definitely didn't exist in this universe. Yang Tian thought for a moment and said, "That's not right. You should have known Shichin's goal in attacking the shrine, right? When Yang Tian asked this question, High Priest Kaya stepped forward and said to Yang Tian, "Yes, we already knew that Shichin wanted to use our method to open this spatial passage. Although she obtained the mighty sky warship, without this spatial passage, she wouldn't have been able to enter the other world. Otherwise, that warship wouldn't have survived until now. You were gambling and you lost." Yang Tian sighed and shook his head. Hong Yuzhou nodded. In our plan, the powerful warrior's consciousness wouldn't stay in the goddess body for too long. Once the powerful warrior's consciousness was gone, the goddess would gain great power. Yang Tian understood. This was just like the legendary god summoning on Earth. What the high priests didn't expect was that the god would leave as soon as he arrived. Shichin Yu had tricked him into leaving. Now that he thought about it, it was like a joke. As soon as High Priest Kaya finished speaking, a powerful ripple of energy came from the spatial passage. Buzzing, a muffled sound rang out, and then a huge beast head stretched out from the pitch-black spatial tunnel. The beast head was triangular and yellow. In the middle of its forehead was a single red eye. There were two bulges on the sides of its mouth that looked like air sacs. The buzzing sound just now came from the air sacs on the sides of its mouth. This was an alien beast that had surpassed the astral god realm. It stretched its head out to take a look at this world. Then, it rushed out of the spatial tunnel. It was a beast that was about 100 meters long, and it looked like a pterosaur. Because its realm had surpassed the limit of what this universe could withstand, as soon as it appeared, the space around it began to ripple and become unstable. The high priests reacted quickly. They mobilized the energy that they had just recovered and unleashed an attack at the beast. The beast that had just arrived was knocked back into the spatial passage. After this attack, the high shamans became dispirited again. If that beast were to appear again, they would not be able to stop it. Luckily, the beast that was knocked back did not appear for a long time. Perhaps it thought that this universe was not suitable for it. Chapter 600. Gugu. Sometimes, bad things would happen one after another. Not long after the exotic beast from the other world was sent back, Yang Tian looked at the passage in front of him and tried to think of a solution. Just as the great priests were sitting cross-legged in the void to recover their strength, a series of goo-goo sounds could be heard. Devouring Insect, who had been injured by Great Priest Empty God and had fallen into a short slumber, suddenly woke up and let out a series of strange cries. In addition to this powerful exotic beast, the great priests of the Superstar Divine Temple were also facing another threat: the great families. These families had survived under the suppression of the Superstar Divine Temple for a long time and had long been dissatisfied with the Superstar Divine Temple. Wasn't this the perfect opportunity to erase the Superstar Divine Temple from this universe? When Devouring Insect woke up, a dozen powerful auras appeared not far away. Yang Tian, there's nothing for you to do now. Leave this place first. Great Priest Tai Yu opened his eyes and said indifferently after sensing the current situation. Yang Tian shook his head. If I leave, the Superstar Divine Temple will really be destroyed. Without the Superstar Divine Temple, this universe will become chaotic. A chaotic universe was what the great families and various forces wanted to see the most. There were countless families in the universe, but only a few dozen were famous. This was because they had been passed down for a long time and had a complete powerhouse cultivation system. Usually, these people kept a very low profile, but when it was time to make a move, one would discover that these families also had top-notch experts hidden among them. Great Priest Tai Yu was shocked when he heard Yang Tian's words. No matter how one looked at it, Yang Tian wasn't a die-hard member of the Superstar Divine Temple. It would take at least a few years for this group of people to recover their previous strength, and that was under the condition that they weren't disturbed and had a large amount of energy to replenish. The great priests naturally didn't lack beast cores. If Yang Tian hadn't emptied the architect palace, they wouldn't have been lacking either. Perhaps these great priests didn't know what had happened in the architect palace. Even if they found out, they would probably think that it was Shi Chun and Yu Yu's group who had done it. In fact, after breaking into the Superstar Divine Temple, the group of people from the Eternal Temple had also entered the Architect Palace, only to find that it was already empty. They were definitely going to be Yang Tian's scapegoat. The crisis that the Superstar God Temple was currently facing was also the best opportunity for Yang Tian to show his muscles. He wanted the entire universe to witness his strength and pave the way for the rise of the humans on Earth. Have a good rest. I'll get rid of them. As soon as Yang Tian said that, High Priest Kaya took out a tube of red liquid and threw it to Yang Tian. He said, "These are primal cells. They can help you become a great star god." Yang Tian waved his hand and sent the red liquid into the spatial passage in the distance. He smiled and said, "No need." Yang Tian had his own way. If he had known that things would turn out like this, Yang Tian might have swallowed the remaining altered cell bodies before entering the Superstar Divinity Temple. In a short period of time, he could raise his strength to a level that surpassed that of a great star god. In that case, he would have the strength to stop Shi Qin Yu. However, all of this seemed to be destined. Yang Tian took off the blue armor on his body and released all of the remaining red cell bodies from his storage bracelet. Back then, when he swallowed these cells that contained powerful energy, Yang Tian took a risk. Fortunately, these cells did not have any side effects for him. In the eyes of the high priests, Yang Tian tore the thin clothes on his body and quickly turned into a huge green dragon. As soon as he opened his mouth, Yang Tian sucked all of the red cell bodies into his mouth. In just a few minutes, the energy waves emitted from Yang Tian's body rose from the Great Star Lord level to the Great Star God level, and then surpassed the Great Star God level. When the experts of the large families saw this, they could not help but be shocked. They were all glad that they had not made a move yet. With enough energy, Yang Tian could make his body bigger. He only stopped when he was 100 meters long. At this time, not far away, the devouring bug was swallowing the corpses of the surrounding cultivators. Even if they were dead, these corpses still contained powerful energy. After the devouring bug digested them, it would become even more powerful. Seeing Yang Tian transform into a dragon, the high priests were all shocked. Even if he reached the Great Star God level, a human could not possibly transform into an exotic beast, right? Unless Yang Tian's body cells were half human and half beast. Wouldn't that be a modified human? Under everyone's shocked expressions, Yang Tian rushed toward the huge devouring bug. Although the devouring bug was huge, its movements in the universe were also very agile. When it sensed that Yang Tian was rushing toward it, it quickly turned around and opened its mouth. This huge mouth was even bigger than the spatial tunnel. Now that he was close, Yang Tian could see that the huge mouth was full of spiral-shaped teeth. They moved in a regular pattern like a grinding machine. Facing this huge mouth, Yang Tian did not hesitate at all. He rushed straight toward it. His speed was very fast, like a beam of light. The devouring bug's fleshy feelers that were sweeping toward Yang Tian missed. PFFF, Yang Tian rushed into the devouring bug's mouth. The moment the devouring bug closed its mouth, its teeth made contact with Yang Tian's protective energy and made a dull sound. After this sound, there was silence. There was no movement for a few minutes. It was as if Yang Tian had been digested by the devouring bug. Just as High Priest Tai Yu was getting more and more worried, there was a sudden loud bang. A huge hole appeared in the devouring bug's head, and Yang Tian's huge dragon body rushed out from it. This hole was slightly to the left compared to the one the High Priest of Space had made. This was where the devouring bug's weakness was. After Yang Tian rushed out of the devouring bug's body, the devouring bug's life force instantly disappeared. Yang Tian's dragon figure flashed, and he appeared in front of the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon had also transformed into a huge dragon. When he came out of the devouring bug's body, Yang Tian held in his mouth a round ball that was several meters in diameter and had a halo on its surface. This was the devouring bug's Niden, the Niden of a great astral beast. After arriving in front of the little blue dragon, Yang Tian spat out the Niden and gave it to the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon understood Yang Tian's intentions, and it naturally wouldn't be polite with Yang Tian. It opened its mouth and put the Niden into its mouth, stretched its neck, and swallowed it. Seeing this, Hong Yujiu, High Priest Taiyu, and the others finally understood why Yang Tian had undergone such a transformation. Clearly, the relationship between Yang Tian and the little blue dragon wasn't what they thought it was. After swallowing the devouring bug's Niden, powerful energy fluctuations suddenly erupted from the little blue dragon's body. It was beginning to advance in rank. Previously, the little blue dragon had absorbed the sealed energy of the teleportation array, and it had almost advanced to the great astral god realm. Now that it had the energy of this Niden, it could be said that the conditions were right. Soon, the color of the little blue dragon's body finally changed. The scales on its body turned into a golden color, making it appear even more dignified and noble. Seeing this, Yang Tian's eyes were filled with excitement as he stood guard on the side. He was filled with a sense of accomplishment. The little blue dragon that had advanced to the great astral god realm should be much stronger than human cultivators at the great astral god realm. Soon, the little blue dragon had proven its power. About half an hour later, the little azure dragon completed its advancement. It had evolved from an azure dragon into a golden dragon. The reason why it was so fast was because the little blue dragon was already prepared to advance in rank. It was just a little bit away. Within the dragon race, the golden dragon's status should be the highest. Buzzing, suddenly, another muffled sound rang out. The exotic beast that the high priests had pushed back had appeared once again. The reason why it had come to this world was to serve as a foil to the little blue dragon's power. As soon as it came out from the entrance to the infinite space and looked around curiously, the little blue dragon descended from the sky and slapped its head with its claw. Although the claw didn't kill the giant beast, it did injure it quite badly. While its body was still tumbling in the infinite space, the little blue dragon opened its mouth and bit off its head. Its long dragon body quickly wrapped around the beast. Chapter 601. Judging from its aura, the little blue dragon's realm was not as high as that ultra beast. However, the little blue dragon was extremely ferocious. Its series of attacks had completely stunned the ultra beast. Boom! After biting the ultra beast's head and using its body to wrap around it, the little blue dragon breathed out a golden dragon flame from its mouth and instantly burned the ultra beast's head to ashes. At the same time, the ultra beast lost its life force. This powerful ultra beast from another world was killed by the little blue dragon just like that. Wasn't this too easy? Under everyone's shocked gazes, the little blue dragon let go of the headless ultra beast's body. Yang Tian suddenly felt that something was not right. Just as he was about to remind the little blue dragon, he saw that the ultra beast's body that was already dead suddenly moved. At the same time, its life force once again appeared within its body. The headless ultra beast had been resurrected once again. Then, it must have been pretending to be dead. The ultra beast that had been resurrected had instantly grown a new head, and it still had power that surpassed the great astral god realm. Seeing that the ultra beast that it had killed had come back to life, the little blue dragon was enraged. It let out a roar and charged forward once again. It already knew how powerful the little blue dragon was. When it saw the little blue dragon charging at it, it let out a buzzing sound. Following this sound, the space around it suddenly began to distort. There was no need to guess. This guy could not win and wanted to escape. Pung! The little blue dragon would not let it go. Before it could escape, its dragon tail slammed into its body with a loud bang. The little blue dragon had used all its strength in this attack. It slammed the Ultra Beast's body so hard that it quickly tumbled through space. The little blue dragon took the opportunity to charge forward. It opened its mouth and breathed out golden dragon flames, enveloping the Ultra Beast once again. At this time, the little blue dragon was somewhat regretful. After burning the Ultra Beast's head, it should not have let go, because it knew that Yang Tian would definitely want to study the Ultra Beast's body. Boom! It wasn't just the dragon flames. The little blue dragon also released a powerful golden electric current that struck the exotic beast. The dragon flames emitted by the little blue dragon didn't change much, but the electricity it emitted had leveled up. Dragon flame and electric current, this feeling. Yang Tian felt terrified just thinking about it. Purring, purring, purring. An explosive sound rang out as the exotic beast's body exploded into pieces under the attack. During this process, the surrounding space distorted again, causing the light to become blurry. Yang Tian's current realm had surpassed the great star god and was even higher than the little blue dragon's current realm. At the moment the exotic beast's body exploded, he saw a flash of white light fly out. Yang Tian extended a strand of dragon whisker from the side of his lips, piercing through the chaotic space and wrapping around this wisp of white light, pulling it back. This time, the exotic beast was finally dead. The white light that was pulled back by Yang Tian was actually a crystal that emitted a silvery white light. Its shape was irregular, and it was only the size of a human palm. However, this small crystal was emitting powerful energy waves. This energy caused the space around the crystal to become somewhat unstable. Observing this crystal, some memories appeared in Yang Tian's mind. These memories also came from He Luoyang. After Yang Tian swallowed the cell body again, the memories that had become blurry in his mind reappeared. This silvery white crystal was called a life crystal in another world. This kind of energy was not only present in the bodies of ultra beasts, but also in the bodies of cultivators. It was similar to the inner cores of ultra beasts. The difference was that this kind of life crystal could not leave the body. Once it left the body, the life that produced it would die. This was also why it was called a life crystal. However, the ultra beasts of this world, like the little blue dragon, could have their inner cores leave the body for a short period of time. Life crystals contained powerful energy. Creatures of the same species could not consume the life crystals of other species. After consuming the life crystals of other species, the energy in the body could be strengthened. This was the same as cultivators consuming beast cores. At this time, Yang Tian did not notice that not far away, when High Priest Kaya saw Yang Tian wrap the life crystal with his dragon whiskers, a look of excitement appeared in his eyes. He had finally killed the devouring bugs and the ultra beasts from the other world. Now it was time to take care of those powerhouses from the large families. After killing them, this universe would be at peace. Yang Tian swept a glance around. His current realm had surpassed the great astral god realm. He could see extremely far away. He could see everything in the vast space around him. This was a godlike vision. Whether it was the cultivators who appeared directly in the surroundings or the peak powerhouses who were hiding in the distant space, they all appeared in Yang Tian's eyes. No matter who it was, Yang Tian released a powerful mind power. Countless formless golden dragons rushed out of his origin realm and swept over. Before these powerhouses could react, Yang Tian swept them over. Apart from the Temple of Eternal Life and the Super Astral God Temple, there were hundreds of powerhouses above the great Astral Lord realm in these families. If they joined forces, the power they formed would be even stronger than the Super Astral God Temple. Now that the Super Astral God Temple's strength had been greatly reduced, it was needless to say. Among these hundreds of people, there were 321 great astral lords and 57 great astral gods. Of course, some of them were cultivators from the two temples who had fled before. The others were originally members of some large families who held positions in the two temples. These people joined the temples for the sake of their family's interests. They would not risk their lives for the survival of the temples. These people were all horrified when they were swept over by Yang Tian. With Yang Tian's current strength, he could easily kill them. Even if Yang Tian did not do anything, the little blue dragon could easily kill them. Now, these people's lives were in his hands. Looking at the horrified expressions in these people's eyes, Yang Tian's eyes flashed with a cold light. Wait! Sensing Yang Tian's killing intent, an old man who was trapped by Yang Tian suddenly shouted. The one who spoke was Ji Shuwudi. Yang Tian had seen this old man during the gambling battle in the 9 Barbarian Star Zone. Yang Tian did not have a good impression of this old man. Seeing the coldness in Yang Tian's eyes, Ji Shuwudi hurriedly said, "We are willing to respect you." With that, Ji Shuwudi prostrated himself in the void toward Yang Tian. This was a great etiquette in this universe. It meant incomparable respect and submission. It was the same as kneeling for humans on Earth. After Ji Shuwudi prostrated himself, the others also prostrated themselves in front of Yang Tian after being stunned. The people of these families had always prioritized interests and were flexible. They knew that if they were killed by Yang Tian there, not only would they die, but their families would also be destroyed. Chapter 602. Many of the people who had crawled down were trembling. This was definitely not because they were excited, but because they were afraid. At this moment, Yang Tian only needed a thought to make the surrounding space collapse and annihilate all of these people. However, Yang Tian did not do so. This was because he saw Great Priest Tai Yu shaking his head at him. Yang Tian calmed down and used his mind power to speak to these people. Wei Shi, Tai Chu, and Hong Yu, destroy these 3 families. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he removed the spatial shackles around them. The people of these large families, who had recovered their fighting strength, naturally understood Yang Tian's meaning. After being stunned for a moment, they began to besiege the powerhouses of the 3 families that Yang Tian had named. These families did not have many powerhouses, so they were quickly killed after being besieged. Not only were the pillars of these 3 families killed, but their entire families would also be attacked by the other families and be wiped out from this universe. In the process, a large number of innocent people would die as a result. After experiencing so much, Yang Tian's heart was as firm as a rock. He knew that if he did not do this, the family alliance would collapse and give the Superstar Divine Temple a chance to breathe. In the future, this universe would belong to these families. At that time, without the restraint of the Superstar Divine Temple, these families would constantly fight, and more people would die. After the top powerhouses of the 3 families were killed, Yang Tian used his mind power to speak. Ji Shuwudi, stay here. Everyone else, disperse. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, the people of these large families all breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly left. Looking at these people's fleeing figures, Yang Tian understood that they were only temporarily swallowing their anger. If Yang Tian became weak, these people would definitely stab him a few times and kill him quickly. Their ambitions would always exist. This was also a very normal thing. Even if all these clans were annihilated, it wouldn't be long before more clans would appear. Ji Shuwudi, who was left behind, seemed a little uneasy. Yang Tian returned to his human form. Yang Tian had just killed the devouring insect and swept away the experts of the various clans. The energy in his body was almost depleted. However, after Yang Tian transformed into his human form and put on his armor, he discovered that his cultivation realm had actually stopped at the Great Star God realm. Not only that, but Yang Tian also obtained more of He Luoyang's memories after devouring the altered cell body. When most of the energy in Yang Tian's body dissipated, these memories did not disappear completely. Perhaps this was because Yang Tian had once again increased his cultivation. Although there weren't many memories, they gave Yang Tian great benefits. Of course, this was something that Yang Tian only realized after entering the other world. After putting on the armor, the bug brain pendant, and the storage bracelet, Yang Tian took out a box from the storage bracelet and said to Jishu Wudi, "This is the person your family has been looking for a long time." Jishu Lanlan was indeed very beautiful. Yang Tian did not even want to use words like corpse or thing to describe her. Jishu Wudi naturally understood what Yang Tian had given him. He was very excited. This was the wish of several generations of Jishu's family. If this box was really, Jishu's family would have to thank Yang Tian. "You can leave now. Don't get involved in this in the future." Yang Tian looked at Jishu Wudi's excited face and said lightly, "All right." Jishu Wudi agreed and put away the box. After bowing to Yang Tian, he left in a flash. After Jishu Wudi left, Grand Priest Kaya, who had recovered his strength, flew over. He kept staring at the life crystal in Yang Tian's hand. This life crystal was Yang Tian's treasure. Even if he did not use it to increase his cultivation realm, he could use it to power the newly built Mighty Sky battleship. One had to know that although the Mighty Sky battleship was powerful, it consumed a lot of energy. Without enough energy to power it, it was no different from a pile of rocks. If Yang Tian used more than half of the beast cores he had now, it would be enough to power the battleship. However, it was not worth it. He was going to leave these beast cores for the humans on Earth. Moreover, using so many beast cores to power the battleship was a very troublesome matter. Seeing Grand Priest Kaya's eyes, Yang Tian had a bad feeling. "Yang Tian, this." Grand Priest Kaya came in front of Yang Tian and pointed at the life crystal in Yang Tian's hand. He said somewhat embarrassedly, "We need this thing." "No!" Before Grand Priest Kaya could finish, Yang Tian raised his hand to stop him. He smiled and said, "If you want to recover, you can use beast cores. I have plenty of them here." Yang Tian thought that Grand Priest Kaya wanted to use this life crystal to restore their strength. It was no wonder that Yang Tian thought so. To the Grand Priests, this was the fastest way to restore their strength. "You misunderstand." As soon as Yang Tian finished speaking, Grand Priest Kaya said, "With this life crystal, we have a way to use a rune formation to seal this portal temporarily. This way, for a short period of time, life from the other world cannot enter this universe." After Grand Priest Kaya finished speaking, Yang Tian finally understood. Doing so was indeed a good idea. Yang Tian thought about it and nodded. He said, "But I need He Luoyang Li's body. Without the life crystal, building the Mighty Sky battleship would require He Luoyang Li's body cells to provide energy." Grand Priest Kaya nodded without hesitation. "No problem." Of course, Yang Tian would not hand over the life crystal immediately. He had to let them design the rune formation first. Before the rune formation was completed, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had to stay here. Especially the little blue dragon. With it around, exotic beasts of at least the same level as before could only be destroyed if they entered this universe. Yang Tian hoped that there would be more exotic beasts like that so that he could obtain more life crystals. Of course, Yang Tian had to participate in the design of the rune formation. With the existence of the strange program, the rune formation could be designed more perfectly. 10 days later. Where is this? This is the exile planet that Yang Tian came from. Where is it? Weixidea roared at a red-haired subordinate in the cockpit as he looked at the unfamiliar star zone before him. Weixidea was Weixidea's cousin. A few days ago, after the Weixidea clan was annihilated, he and the remaining forces of the other two clans escaped. After meeting up, they formed a small fleet. Primordial Stone Star was also in the cockpit of this spaceship. It was impossible for all of these clans to be annihilated. When the clans were destroyed, some of the elites would be arranged to escape. That way, the clans could continue and even rise again in the near future. The coordinates must have been changed. It's not his fault, Primordial Stone Star said calmly when he saw Weixedeo's crazed look. Primordial Stone Star was against Weixedeo looking for Yang Tian's home planet because it was meaningless. However, Weixedeo did not listen to his advice at all in the end. This was what happened. Primordial Stone Star also knew how Weixedeo's subordinate obtained Earth's coordinate. The person who was scolded by Weixedeo was once a trusted subordinate of Archpriest Kong Shen's steward. Weixedeo did not expect Yang Tian to have changed the coordinates long ago. If Yang Tian knew about this, he would definitely be glad. Otherwise, humans on Earth would face another catastrophe because this group of people was not comparable to the Zichan Empire's soldiers from before. After Primordial Stone Star finished speaking, Weixedeo slowly calmed down and said helplessly, "Let's stick to the original plan. Let's go to the ice region." The ice region was an undeveloped and mysterious star zone that had not been included in the star map. It was only recorded in the star map. It was also the best place for the remaining forces of the clans to go. Primordial Stone Star looked at the starry sky outside and sighed. It was too difficult for them to rise again. Chapter 603. According to the Ketla star's time, 10 days later. Tens of thousands of meticulously carved bluestones covered in runes were placed at the entrance of the spatial passage by the Great Priest. The ceiling array glyphs were designed by a strange program. Otherwise, it would take dozens of times longer to complete according to the design of Great Priest Tai Yu and the others. After seeing Yang Tian's high attainments in runes, Great Priest Tai Yu felt that he was far inferior. This made Yang Tian blush with shame, because he didn't know much about runes, so he was completely relying on the strange program. It was worth mentioning that Yang Tian had obtained the position of Great Priest of the Super Star Divine Temple. Yang Tian accepted it without any hesitation. He deserved it. What surprised Yang Tian was that according to Yu Chun and Great Priest Tai Yu's calculations, Yang Tian would soon bring back the next goddess for the Super Star Divine Temple. Who was it? Even Yang Tian didn't know. This caused Yang Tian to have some malicious thoughts. In the future, if he were to randomly meet a woman in the universe and bring her back, the Super Star God Temple would worship her as a goddess. With Qin Fei as an example, Yang Tian started to feel a little repulsed by the position of Divine Lady in the temple. However, for countless years, the existence of the goddess had been one with the Super Star Divine Temple. Without the goddess, the Super Star Divine Temple wasn't complete. In Yang Tian's opinion, the Super Star Divine Temple was no longer mysterious, because he had reached a certain height. However, the ordinary humans in this universe were still full of reverence for the temple. After setting up the ceiling array glyphs at the entrance, Yang Tian had 3 things to do. The first thing was to return to Earth. Although he couldn't bring Qin Fei back and make the elders happy, he still had to make a trip back. Calculating the time, it had been more than 10 years since he left Earth. Yang Tian had muddled along for so long and had become a great star god realm expert. Making a trip back could be considered a glorious return to his homeland. Under Yang Tian's insistence, the Super Star God Temple had decided to gradually cancel the exiled planet. At the right time, the humans on these planets could return to the universe. Of course, this would require the consent of the humans on the exiled planet. The second thing was to complete the construction of the new Wei Kong warship. Yang Tian must enter the other world and find Qin Fei. The third thing was to bring the little blue dragon to the dragon starfield. Regardless of the outcome, he had to fulfill the little blue dragon's wish. If he thought too much, the effect of the ceiling rune array would be affected. Yang Tian calmed himself down and began to adjust the position of every rock under the eyes of the great priests. After dozens of hours of calculation by a strange program, the position of the blue stone was finally adjusted. For the last step, Yang Tian took out the life crystal that the little blue dragon obtained after killing the otherworld creature from his storage bracelet and embedded it on the largest blue stone. As soon as the life crystal was embedded, the runes on this large blue stone lit up and projected a light blue beam toward the surrounding blue stones. After the other blue stones came into contact with the light beam, the runes on them also lit up. In a few seconds, all the blue stones with runes engraved on them lit up. These blue stones turned into luminous objects. Tens of thousands of blue stones were distributed over a very wide area. In fact, they covered the spatial tunnel. When all the blue stones lit up, countless light blue beams formed a spherical cage that completely covered the spatial tunnel. After reaching this step, Yang Tian and the great priests of the Super Star God Temple all breathed a sigh of relief. This was because before the sealing rune array was completed, especially after the tens of thousands of blue stones were set up, it would be troublesome if another otherworld came. Fortunately, such a thing did not happen. When the light net was formed, the space inside it became distorted, and the flow of time became hundreds of thousands of times slower. In other words, hundreds of thousands of years had passed on the outside, but only 1 year had passed on the inside of the net of light. If an otherworld creature came to this world from another world, under normal circumstances, it would take a second to break through this rune array. However, in this universe, hundreds of thousands of seconds had passed, which was about a few days. Apart from time, the space distortion also extended the distance by hundreds of thousands of times. Apart from making changes in space and time, Yang Tian also made the strange program set up an illusion. This was a rune energy that could increase the fear of creatures. These were just the defensive methods of the sealing rune array. Apart from defense, there were also offensive methods. The offensive method would only be activated after the otherworld creature passed through the defense. Once the offensive method was activated, the energy consumption of the life crystal would be very high. If the various offensive methods of the rune array could not kill the otherworld creature, then the sealing rune array would activate the teleportation. It would teleport the otherworld creature to the remote bug tribe star zone and leave the otherworld creature for the bugs to deal with. After the light net was formed, all of the blue stones that lit up gradually disappeared. What disappeared along with it was the space entrance. Of course, this did not mean that it had truly disappeared, but that it had been hidden. Now, even if a great astral god powerhouse were to come here, they would not be able to sense the existence of the entrance. The super astral god temple had returned to its original appearance and was floating not far away. From now on, the super astral god temple had another responsibility, which was to guard this passage. 2 days later, in a nameless star zone, on a habitable planet that had just been developed and had yet to be settled, a huge production base had been built. This star zone was bought by 2 sisters from an interstellar exploration company with a huge sum of money. The materials and technical workers needed to produce the spaceship and the family fortress had all been transferred and gathered here. The technical workers who came here had all signed a 10-year confidentiality agreement. After 10 years, they would receive a generous reward and choose to leave this place to live the rest of their lives happily. Of course, they could also choose to continue working for Azure Dragon Technology. Azure Dragon Technology was a newly established technology company. In the beginning, it produced the spaceship and the family fortress of the Azure Dragon family. In the later stages, it would produce storage tools and everything related to runes. After that, it would establish the Azure Dragon Bank. If it developed according to Yang Tian's plan, it would not be difficult for the humans of Earth to obtain the ruling rights of this universe. Of course, this would take a long time, and the process might not be smooth. Yang Tian's wish was the same as Qin Shi Huang of ancient China, which was to unify all of the units of time, words, measurements, and so on in this universe, and establish a great universe with the humans of Earth as the center, in a luxurious building in the huge base. Brother Yang, it's ready. The information has been collected. Now, as long as the Azure Dragon family is mentioned, those big companies will obediently hand over these things. Of course, to them, these are not the highest level secrets. Zhu Liang said as he placed a silver-white box on the table, opened the password lock, and opened the lid. Inside the box, there were dozens of black high-grade storage chips neatly arranged. After handing the chips over to Yang Tian, Zhu Liang City took out a thick proposal that was printed on special paper. This was the Azure Dragon plan that Zhu Liang had carefully compiled after investigating the development data of dozens of backward planets in the universe. In Yang Tian's plan, all the humans of Earth were members of the Azure Dragon family. In this room, other than Zhu Liang, there were also 7 Light Rain, 7 Color, Zhu Wei, and Soli. After Soli left the Superstar God Temple, she returned to Ketla planet and was summoned by Yang Tian. Yang Tian trusted Soli a lot. In the next 2 days, Yang Tian visited the construction process of the spaceship and the family fortress. Because the spaceship was extremely precise, all the construction process was designed by a strange program and executed by an intelligent control system. No humans were involved. But the family fortress was different. Because it was a place where humans lived, all the equipment and facilities needed to have experience data. Even with advanced intelligent programs and machines, hundreds of thousands of technicians were involved in the construction. Yang Tian had already seen the design. The completed family fortress was like a small planet. It usually maintained a round shape, but when necessary, it could transform into the shape of a fighter jet to perform high-speed and long-distance space flight. Because Yang Tian had the help of the strange program, this family fortress would be the most powerful family fortress in the history of the universe. After it was completed, it would undergo a second processing and add rune technology to give it a strong defensive ability. According to the calculations of the strange program, after the family fortress was completed, its defensive ability would be dozens of times stronger than the Superstar God Temple. Even if a great star god cultivator attacked it, it would be able to last for a long time and break through space to escape to a preset foreign star zone. It was worth mentioning that this foreign star zone included the Dragon Star Zone. Of course, in addition to strong defensive ability, it also had strong offensive ability. The rune attack it launched was equivalent to the full power attack of a great star god. Inside the family fortress, most of it was a residential area with all kinds of entertainment facilities. The circular shell was also a huge monitor, and the environment was an optimized simulation of Earth's environment. In addition to the living facilities, the family fortress also had a trial space created with runes, and there were thousands of teleportation array disks. Such a beautiful place, of course, was not something that every human on Earth could live in. The first batch of people to live in were Yang Tian's family and friends. This was necessary. Although Yang Tian was prepared to share such a fortress with the majority of the Earth Dragon, he also had his own selfish motives, didn't he? Yang Tian did not think of himself as a selfless saint. The second batch of people to come in were humans who had made outstanding contributions to the human world, regardless of which aspect they were in. Among this batch of people, it was very likely that they were scientists and martial artists who were guarding ordinary humans. From the requirements for this batch of people, it could be seen that Yang Tian valued a person's character very much. The third batch of people were young people with potential, top martial artists. As the future development continued, the number of people in the third batch would definitely increase. Yang Tian knew that his parents were not good at managing people, and at the same time, Yang Tian did not want them to work too hard. The management work would be handed over to Chu Yan, Gu Ying, Soli, Zhu Wei, Zhu Liangshi, Grandpa Qin Jingyang, and the others. After leaving the production base, one of the 3 things could be considered completed. The next thing was to return to Earth. In the cabin of the Black Dragon spaceship, Yang Tian used the universe common language to give orders to the Black Dragon spaceship's AI piloting system. Activate the exploration navigation mode. With planet Kytra as the base, the coordinates are ##@yen. After receiving the order, the Black Dragon spaceship immediately set off and began a short-distance space jump flight. Although the coordinates had been confirmed, there were many unfamiliar star fields on the route. The data of the planets in these star fields had not been recorded in the star map, so the travel time could not be determined. It could be a day, a few months, or a few years. Yang Tian was already prepared for a long journey. In addition to Yang Tian, there were also Zhu Wei, Soli, and Zhu Liangshi in the Black Dragon spaceship's cockpit. Zhu Wei was originally a human from Earth. Although he no longer had any relatives or friends on Earth, and the dynasty he was loyal to had been buried in the long river of history, he, like Yang Tian, wanted to go back and take a look. Soli and Zhu Liangshi were the two people Yang Tian had entrusted with important tasks after leaving this universe. Of course, he had to let them know about the situation on Earth. The journey did not take long. It only took 5 days for the Black Dragon spaceship to enter the solar system. With the current technology of Earth, a spacecraft that entered the solar system and traveled slowly could still be observed in time. Soon, Yang Tian received some strange electronic signals. Some were asking questions, some were threatening. Yang Tianli ignored him and drove the spaceship to land in Hero City. For humans on Earth, this was a sensational event. It was as sensational as when the Zichan Empire's soldiers came to this world. If it was not for the fact that there was only one spaceship and Yang Tian had brought back a fleet, most of the people in Hero City would have evacuated. Even though there was only one spaceship, a large number of high-level martial artists had left Hero City immediately. Yang Tian had excluded such martial artists from the list of people to be groomed in the future. What made Yang Tian happy was that although a large number of high-level martial artists had left the city, there were still hundreds of martial artists with weapons and surrounded the Black Dragon spaceship. The Black Dragon spaceship stopped in the middle of a huge square. Yang Tian did not expect that there would be a statue of him in this square. After getting off the spaceship, Yang Tian glanced around. Among the large number of martial artists, he saw a few familiar figures. For example, Steward Wu Fang and Mark. Both of them were now level 9 martial artists with faint signs of a breakthrough. Many people were stunned when they saw that the person who got off the spaceship was Yang Tian. Who did not know Yang Tian? Although he had left Earth for many years. Uncle Wu, Mark, don't you recognize me? Seeing the two stunned expressions, Yang Tian said with a smile. Chapter 604. It really was Yang Tian. Wu Fang and Mark finally heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that it wasn't an extraterrestrial that came to Earth. Everyone, disperse. After confirming that it was Yang Tian, Wu Fang glanced around and said loudly to the martial artist. However, no one left. They just put away their weapons. The martial artists were very curious about Yang Tian because Yang Tian was a legend on Earth. They all wanted to pay their respects to Yang Tian. Seeing Wu Fang, Mark, and the others coming over, Yang Tian called Zhu Wei, Soli, and the others down from the Black Dragon spaceship. Yang Tian, you're finally back. Wu Fang came to Yang Tian and looked at Yang Tian's tall figure. He patted Yang Tian's arm and didn't know what to say. Yang Tian, where's Xiao Fei? Mark asked with a smile as he glanced at Zhu Wei, Soli, and Zhu Liang who came down from the spaceship. Yang Tian scratched his head awkwardly and said, Xiao Fei can't come back. She went to another world. It's not convenient to talk here. Let's go back and talk. Mark nodded. Yang Tian, you've been gone for 15 years. Earth has changed a lot. Wu Fang led the way in front and slowly described the changes on Earth to Yang Tian. Unknowingly, they had returned home. Many martial artists were curiously surrounding the Black Dragon spaceship. Some wanted to get close to the spaceship and touch it, but they were stopped by Belle, who Yang Tian had left behind to guard the spaceship. After entering a luxurious villa, Yang Tian introduced Zhu Wei, Soli, and Zhu Liang to Wu Fang and the others. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had restrained their auras. However, the energy fluctuations from these three gave Wu Fang, Mark, and the others a strong sense of oppression. This made Wu Fang and Mark very surprised. At the same time, it made them look forward to it. This time, Yang Tian definitely wouldn't come back just to see his parents and leave. He definitely had something to do to change the actions of the humans on Earth. Hearing the sound outside, Wang Hong, who stayed at home, came out. When she saw Yang Tian, she couldn't believe her eyes and was stunned. "Mom!" Yang Tian shouted excitedly. "It's little Tian." Only then did Wang Hong come to her senses, crying tears of joy. Yang Tian chuckled and quickly stepped forward to give his mother a hug. "Mom, I missed you so much," Yang Tian said excitedly after hugging his mother. "We miss you too." "Right, little Tian, where's little Fei?" Wang Hong let go of Yang Tian and looked behind him. She didn't see Qin Fei but the beautiful Yang Tian. She had a bad feeling and asked Yang Tian with a frown. "Mom, I'll talk to you later. By the way, where's Dad?" Yang Tian asked with a smile. Wang Hong didn't see Qin Fei and was a little unhappy. She coldly snorted and said, "Your dad is outside. He'll be back soon." After saying that, Wang Hong glanced at the little blue dragon that had climbed onto Yang Tian's head. Seeing that the little blue dragon had lost a lot of weight, she blamed Yang Tian and said, "Little Tian, look at Xiaolong. He's a lot thinner than before, and he's also a lot more yellow. Are you not good to Xiaolong?" "How could that be?" Yang Tian bitterly smiled and said, "Mom, Xiaolong has lost weight. It has nothing to do with me." The little blue dragon that was climbing on Yang Tian's head was very proud at this time, but its eyes revealed a wronged expression. Seeing Xiaolong's eyes, Wang Hong remembered that Qin Fei hadn't come back. She coldly snorted and turned to enter the house. Seeing that his mother was angry, Yang Tian felt very guilty. It was also his fault that he couldn't bring Qin Fei back. Yang Tian knew that his parents liked Qin Fei very much as their daughter-in-law. Another point was that Wang Hong didn't want Yang Tian to become a playboy and provoke other women. This was a precedent. Otherwise, why would Su Fangrong come uninvited? Yang Tian had long forgotten about Su Fangrong. Wu Fang looked at Yang Tian's bitter expression and couldn't help but laugh. He immediately called everyone into the living room. After everyone sat down in the spacious and luxurious living room, Yang Tian went upstairs and spent more than half an hour coaxing his mother into a better mood. She followed Yang Tian downstairs. While everyone was talking, Little Condor and the unicorn White Snow flew back. These two exotic beasts had now grown into level 9 exotic beasts. The exotic beasts around Hero City would be afraid when they saw them. When the two exotic beasts came back, there was a beautiful young woman sitting on White Snow's back. She was Su Fangrong. Su Fangrong was now a level 8 martial artist. She was even more beautiful and was comparable to Qin Fei. At this moment, she was wearing a set of purple armor with 2 short swords hanging from her waist. She looked extraordinarily heroic, and at the same time, there was a charming smell on her body. If she didn't claim to be Yang Tian's woman, the number of martial artists pursuing her could probably line up from Hero City to Tianxiong City on the other side of the earth. Wang Hong and Yang Lin couldn't do anything about Su Fangrong's existence. This girl was too stubborn. She insisted on waiting for Yang Tian to come back. "I'm back," Su Fangrong shouted as soon as she got off White Snow's back. After saying that, she tidied up the purple armor on her body. After the Zichan Empire's soldiers were annihilated, many armors were left behind. These armors were all low-grade armors in the universe, but to warriors they were top-notch defensive equipment. Humans on Earth could use such equipment because of the hard work of scientists. They had spent several years deciphering the armor system. This fully demonstrated that humans on Earth were extremely intelligent and capable of learning. Su Surong felt strange when no one answered. She quickly walked into the room. Su Fangrong's eyes widened in surprise when she saw so many people in the room. Ahem. Fangrong, Yang Tian is back, Wang Hong said with mixed feelings. Su Fangrong had seen Yang Tian a long time ago. When Wang Hong's voice fell, she smiled happily with a shy expression on her face. She called out Big Brother Yang and sat beside Yang Tian, hugging Yang Tian's arm while she was at it. Who are you? Yang Tian was not used to this beautiful girl's enthusiasm. He immediately pulled his arm away and sat further away, afraid that others would misunderstand. Brother Yang, don't you remember me? I'm Su Fangrong. You saved me and my sister. At that time, didn't I say that I wanted to be your wife, or even your lover? Su Fangrong's eyes turned red as she pitifully looked at Yang Tian and reminded him. At this moment, everyone turned their heads away. When Su Fangrong said that, Yang Tian finally remembered the little girl. He did not expect that the little girl had grown into a beauty after more than 10 years. But I already have a wife. Yang Tian smiled bitterly. Looking at Su Fangrong's pitiful look, Yang Tian could not reject her directly. Su Fangrong blinked her big eyes. I don't care. I can be your lover. You promised me at the beginning. You're a hero. You can't go back on your words. But Yang Tian did not know what to say. Su Fangrong's tears flowed down. Anyway, you can't go back on your word. If you don't want me, I won't marry anyone else. Looking at Su Fangrong's beautiful face, Yang Tian also had the desire to possess her as a normal man. However, when this thought appeared, he could not help but think of Qin Fei. Yang Tian was about to say something when he suddenly remembered. Didn't the superstar divine temple ask him to find a goddess? Su Surong seemed to be suitable. Yang Tian thought that if Su Fangrong became the goddess of the superstar divine temple, she might forget about him in the future. Yang Dao was not worried that the superstar divine temple would treat Su Fangrong badly because the current superstar divine temple was different from before. Very quickly, Yang Tian made this decision. However, he still had to ask for Su Fangrong's opinion. Yang Tian would not force Su Fangrong to do something she did not want to do. Chapter 605. Yang Tian, how is Xiao Fei? Wu Fang shook his head and asked. Seeing Su Fangrong beside Yang Tian, and seeing Yang Tian's uncomfortable appearance. Speaking of this matter, Su Fangrong finally let go of Yang Tian's arm, stood up, apologized, and went upstairs alone. Yang Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief and said, Xiao Fei was brought to launch an empire. You probably didn't expect that she's actually a princess. In these more than 10 years, he had experienced a lot of things, but there were very few things about Qin Fei. Yang Tian recounted in detail what happened after he met Qin Fei. The road to happiness is strewn with setbacks. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Wu Fang sighed and said. Yang Tian nodded. At this time, Mark said, Yang, how long do you plan to stay this time? Looking at the current Yang Tian, Mark felt that he was a stranger. He thought that he should have gone to the outside world to experience it. Mark couldn't sense Yang Tian's realm. However, he could judge Yang Tian's current realm from the friends Yang Tian brought back. In the past, Mark could fight with Yang Tian, but now the gap was too far. Yang Tian saw the expression in Mark's eyes and knew his current state of mind. He didn't know what to say and replied with a smile, I'm not sure about the time, but I have to settle this matter properly. Xiao Tian. Just as Yang Tian finished speaking, a middle-aged man walked in. After seeing Yang Tian, he called out in surprise. This middle-aged man was Yang Tian's father, Yang Lin. When Wang Hong went upstairs, she called Yang Lin. Yang Lin, who was fishing in the sea outside Hero City, immediately rushed back. Nowadays, fishing was a very exciting thing because the size of the fish in the sea was very big. Catching a few 100 pounds of fish at once was considered small. Many mutated fish had delicious meat. Seeing that his father had returned, Yang Tian immediately stood up and gave his father a big hug. Seeing that Yang Tian had grown a lot taller, Yang Lin chuckled happily after separating from his son. What was worth mentioning was that Yang Lin was already a level 2 martialist. This caused Yang Tian to feel surprised. Although his parents had been strengthened, it was not easy to become a warrior. They needed to go through more difficult training than young people. Yang Tian also asked about Qin Fei. Yang Tian had no choice but to answer again. After that, Yang Tian introduced everyone once again. By the way, where are Uncle Qin and Auntie Shui? Yang Tian did not see Qin Fei's adoptive parents. Wu Fang told Yang Tian that the two of them had left Earth through the transmission disk. This reminded Yang Tian of his grandfather, Qin Jingyang. It had been more than 10 years. He wondered how they were doing on the Crimson Flame planet. Next, Yang Yu asked about his former teammates. They were Xiao Fei and the others. Ma Ku was more familiar with these people. He told Yang Yu that Xiao Fei and the others had left Earth long ago. However, Zhou Hao was still there. Zhou Hao was now a level 8 martialist. Ever since the crystal tablet was created, the rate at which strong people were born on Earth increased a lot. Cultivating the battle skills on the crystal tablet, in addition to swallowing beast cores, increased the speed of cultivation by a lot. Many people chose to leave Earth after cultivating to level 9 martialist. They wanted to explore the outside world. Was the outside world so easy to explore? In the past 10 years, Yang Yu had not seen any other human from Earth other than Zhu Wei. This meant that these martialists who left Earth were still trapped in the Death Starfield. Due to the special environment of the universe, the rise of some races was often due to the birth of a strong martialist. Then, under the protection of this martialist, more martialists were born in the race. The rise of Earth's humans had begun because of Yang Tian. He rested for a day. The next day, Yang Tian met with Zhou Hao. The two talked about their school days until Yang Tian left Earth. In the end, both of them got drunk. 3 days later, Yang Tian used Hero City's communication system to issue a call to the whole world. He summoned all the city lords and the rulers of the various safe zones for a meeting. The news of Yang Tian's return to Earth spread throughout the world on the same day. Naturally, some people were happy about Yang Tian's return, while others were worried. The ones who were happy were the martialists who cultivated alone, while the ones who were worried were the rulers of some cities. After Yang Tian left, the ruling class of Earth did not change much. It was still a few high-level martialists who controlled the safe zones. These people were very smart. They naturally knew that Yang Tian did not have good intentions when he summoned them. He wanted to remove their control over the safe zones. This was the first and most important step in Yang Tian's plan. He needed to have absolute control over Earth's humans. He had to admit that Earth's humans were unmatched when it came to fighting for power. If any of the rulers of these cities were placed in the Superstar Divinity Temple, it might not take long for them to climb to the position of Great Shaman. Yang Tian did not want such a situation to happen and affect the development of mankind. He needed a united nation. Therefore, those who disobeyed and refused to cooperate could only be killed. When the deadline was up, less than 1/3 of the hundreds of cities on Earth came to Hero City to participate in the meeting. In Zhu Liang City's eyes, those city lords' heads must have been kicked by donkeys. This was a strange way of speaking that Zhu Liang City and Yang Tian learned after a trip to Tianxiong City. In the meeting room, the city lords who came to participate in the meeting sat upright. Yang Tian was not there. He was accompanying his father, Yang Lin, mother, Wang Hong, and Su Fangrong to the beach to fish. Little Tian, is it appropriate for you to leave such an important matter to an outsider? Yang Lin asked Yang Tian after he tidied up his fishing equipment by the beach. Yang Tian was tidying up the grill. The little blue dragon was lying on a rock, staring at the grill without blinking. It had not eaten grilled meat for a long time. Yang Tian washed his hands and smiled. Zhuliang City is a trustworthy person. With Zhu Wei, Soli, Uncle Wu, and Mark helping him, this matter will be settled quickly. Yang Lin nodded and took a piece of fresh beast meat from his wife, Wang Hong. He hung it on an extra-large fish hook and threw a specially made fishing rod that was as thick as an arm. With a whoosh, the fish hook was thrown with great force. It fell into the sea about 100 meters away and sank. Yang Tian watched all this with curiosity. This was his first time fishing. Ever since the outbreak of the YS virus, this kind of entertainment could only be enjoyed by martial artists. When the fish hook entered the water, it probably had not even sunk to the bottom when there was a whoosh. The fishing line that was as thick as a finger was pulled taut, and the reel on the fishing rod began to spin rapidly. Yang Lin was already experienced. He raised the fishing rod and controlled the speed of the reel. He retracted and released the reel, and began to compete with the big fish that had bitten the hook. Because there were too many fish, the line broke in the end. Now, when fishing by the beach, there was only one chance to pull a fish out of the sea after dozens of attempts. The weight of the fish could not exceed 150 pounds, or else the line would not be able to handle it. After a few attempts, the drooling little blue dragon could not take it anymore. It transformed into a 20-meter-long dragon and dove into the sea. A few minutes later, the little blue dragon emerged from the sea with a white-skinned fish that was several meters long in its claws. Poof! From 100 meters in the air, the little blue dragon threw the fish down. The white-skinned fish fell to its death. Seeing this, Yang Lin could not help but laugh. He gave the little blue dragon a thumbs up. The little blue dragon proudly flew a few rounds in the air before transforming back into a mini dragon and landing on a stone nearby. Wang Hong immediately called out to Su Fangrong and went forward to bring the fish over. This was a fish that weighed more than 400 pounds. Its meat was delicious, and it was very difficult to catch a fish like this. Su Fangrong was a high-level martial artist, and she easily brought the fish to Yang Tian. While Yang Tian and his family were enjoying their family fun, Zhuliang City had already taken out an electronic document for the city lords to put their fingerprints on. Chapter 606. Since they were already in Hero City, these city lords were already mentally prepared. They hesitated for a moment before pressing their fingerprints on the electronic documents. Next, it was time to receive the document. The members of the youth gang immediately entered the cities ruled by these city lords and took over the management right. It was worth mentioning that although more than 10 years had passed, the youth gang still worshipped Yang Tian. The members strictly obeyed the rules. It could be said that they were the most righteous organization in the world. After more than 10 years, a large number of high-level martial artists emerged from the youth gang. Usually, the members of the youth gang didn't have close contact with each other. Some even hid their identities. After Yang Tian returned, he gave an order, and all the members of the youth gang appeared. Even Zhou Hao was a member of the youth gang. Every city was like a small independent kingdom. If chaos broke out, the ones to suffer would be ordinary people. After this matter, Zhu Wei led a group of youth gang members and started to clean up the city lords who weren't present. This process wasn't difficult for Zhu Wei and the others. A star-level cultivator could kill a level 9 or level 10 martial artist with a flick of his finger. In less than a week, all the cities on Earth no longer had city lords. The management rights were given to the Azure Dragon clan. The city lords who used to be tyrannical received the punishment they deserved. Their crimes were all recorded by the youth gang. After this matter was settled, Zhu Wei, Soli, and the little blue dragon started to clean up the exotic beasts on Earth under the arrangement of Zhuliang City. The powerful exotic beasts were directly killed, while the low-level exotic beasts were chased to desolate places. From now on, the exotic beasts on Earth would no longer threaten the safety of humans. Accompanied by the martial artists, ordinary people could walk out of the cities and see the outside world. After the cleanup was completed, all the famous scientists on Earth were gathered together. Juliang City started to teach these people the universal language. At the same time, the cities that didn't have schools started to build them. The funds were all provided by the Azure Dragon clan. The schools that already existed opened many new courses. Ever since Yang Tian returned, Earth was undergoing huge changes almost every day. The ones who felt this change the most were the ordinary humans who had not been enhanced. In the past, they could only stay in the factories and plantations set up by the city lord. The remuneration they received was only enough for their families to survive. The children in their families could not go to school, and many of the children in their teens could not even read. And now, without the city lord, after they worked, they all received the remuneration they deserved, and their lives had obviously improved. At the same time, without the city lord, the warriors also lost their privileges. Regardless of whether they were in or out of the city, they would be severely punished for harming ordinary people. The security situation immediately improved. One had to know that in the past there were some beautiful women in some cities who didn't dare to go out. The strict management made many martial artists who were used to running amok very uncomfortable. In the beginning, some martial artists did not take it seriously. After killing tens of thousands of such martial artists, no martial artist dared to run amok again. Half a month after Yang Tian returned to Earth, things were basically straightened out. He finally took out the data tower and let Earth appear in the star map. Inside the Black Dragon spaceship, Yang Tian looked at the star map again and discovered that Earth was extremely far away from the Death Star field. If a straight line was drawn between the Death Star field's Crimson Flame planet and Earth, the Superstar Divinity Temple would be in between the two. This was the magical part of the teleportation disk array. It could allow humans on Earth to instantly pass through the Superstar Divinity Temple and appear on the other side. So magical! Seeing the countless beautiful stars in the projected star map, Su Fangrong opened her eyes wide with amazement. Su Fangrong was wearing a blue dress and exquisite jewelry. It was obvious that she had put in a lot of effort to dress up. As the saying goes, a woman dresses up for the one who loves her. Su Fangrong hoped to display her beauty in front of Yang Tian so that Yang Tian could accept her. Yang Tian couldn't turn a blind eye to Su Fangrong's beauty. However, he understood that between him and Su Fangrong, at least for now, it was impossible. A normal man would have a desire to possess a beautiful woman. The stronger the man, the stronger this desire would be. Yang Tian didn't deny that he wanted to make Su Fangrong the goddess of the Superstar Divinity Temple. He still had some selfish motive. He couldn't have her, and he couldn't give her to others, at least not before Su Fangrong fell in love with someone else. At this time, only Yang Yu and Su Fangrong were in the cockpit. The little blue dragon was also very busy, helping the humans on Earth to clean up the exotic beasts in the deep sea. Yang Tian glanced at the star map, then stared at Su Fangrong's eyes and asked indifferently, "Fangrong, do you like the outside world?" And Su Fangrong nodded seriously. Yang Tian said, "Now, there's an opportunity." Yang Tian told Su Fangrong about the goddess of the Superstar Divinity Temple. Su Fangrong didn't ask Yang Tian about the benefits of becoming the goddess of the Superstar Divinity Temple. Instead, she asked Yang Tian, "If I become the goddess, will I be able to see you often?" Su Fangrong heard Yang Tian say that he was the great priest of the Superstar Divinity Temple, which was why she asked this. Yang Tian shook his head. "I'm about to leave Earth, and even leave this universe to go to another world. I don't know what will happen after that." Su Fangrong thought for a while, then looked at Yang Tian. "Then, in the Superstar Divinity Temple, I can at least get news of you as soon as possible. I can even use the power of the temple to find you later." Yang Tian nodded. Su Fangrong said straightforwardly, "All right, I'm willing to become a goddess. But you have to promise that they won't treat me like how they treated big sister Qin Fei. Yang Tian nodded again. A month later, Yang Tian brought his parents, Wu Fang, Su Fangrong, 2 servants, Unicorn White Snow, and Little Condor to board the Black Dragon spaceship. After more than an hour of flight, the Black Dragon spaceship arrived outside the family fortress. Under the guidance of the AI system, the Black Dragon spaceship directly drove into the huge family fortress. Yang Tian's parents, Wu Fang, and the others were the first batch of people to enter the family fortress. After the family fortress was built, 7 light rain brought people to move the family fortress to a place not far from Earth. After staying in the fortress for a few days, Yang Tian sent Su Fangrong to the Superstar Divinity Temple. After the goddess enthronement ceremony, Yang Tian bade farewell to Su Fangrong, then took the little blue dragon and piloted the Black Dragon spaceship toward the Dragon Starfield. This was something that the little blue dragon had been looking forward to for a long time. Now that it was really going to the Dragon Starfield, the little blue dragon was a little uneasy. It did not know if it could find its parents. Chapter 607. High Priest Kaya had told Yang Tian the interstellar coordinates, and Yang Tian remembered them clearly. After entering the coordinates into the Black Dragon spaceship's AI system, it took more than 10 minutes of calculation before the AI system came up with the navigation route. From the time it took, Yang Tian knew that this trip would take a long time. Since most of the time was spent traveling outside the star map, the spaceship could only use short-distance space jumps to avoid the spaceship falling into the space turbulence caused by the black hole. Or it could enter the space annihilation that occasionally occurred in the universe. Xiao Long, don't be nervous. Your home must be a beautiful place. Your parents must still be there. After the spaceship started moving, Yang Tian saw the little blue dragon's nervous expression and comforted him. The little blue dragon nodded. Although the little blue dragon was a golden dragon after transforming into a giant dragon, its body was still green and emitted a faint yellow glow when it was in its mini-dragon form. No wonder Yang Tian's mother, Wang Hong, thought that Yang Tian had abused the little blue dragon. Being skinny and yellow, wasn't that a sign of a lack of nutrition? Waiting in the cockpit while the spaceship was traveling was very boring for Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. Luckily, Yang Tian had collected all kinds of good wine, food, movies, and TV series produced on Earth before he came out this time. Watching movies and TV series, eating snacks, and tasting good wine that had been stored in the cellar for decades, the man and the dragon lived quite comfortably. 52 days and 5 hours in Earth's time, the spaceship finally stopped. They had finally arrived at the location that Kaya had told Yang Tian about. In these dozens of days, the little blue dragon had been eating good food and drinking good wine every day. Its body seemed to have become much rounder. The Black Dragon spaceship had stopped in an open space. The light was dim, and there were no planets within a few light years of it. Not even meteorites could be seen. Was the Dragon Starfield hidden in such an empty starfield? After checking the scanning data of the spaceship's AI system for the surrounding space, Yang Tian frowned. Through the spaceship, Yang Tian did not feel any powerful presence. The surrounding space was empty, and the strange program in the insect brain did not detect any rune energy wave. Looking at the empty space outside, the little blue dragon's eyes dimmed. The little blue dragon was a little disappointed, because even with its sharp senses, it could not sense the presence of its own kind. Xiao Long, don't give up. Let's go out and take a look. Yang Tian saw the look in little azure dragon's eyes and comforted it before the ship's AI system opened the cabin door. The little blue dragon and man immediately. Once, the little blues transformed into a dragon's form. It's then opens dragon little blue dragon to dragoness, dragon's dragon, dragons. The little blue dragon wanted to use this method to remind it to come here. If there really was a hidden dragon starfield here, its own kind would definitely hear it. However, after a long time, the space was still empty, and there was no reaction at all. At this moment, Yang Tian was wondering if Great Priest Kaya had marked the space incorrectly, or if the dragon starfield that once existed here had moved away. Yang Tian was sure that when he entered the coordinates, he did not make a mistake. After a few cries, the little blue dragon's cries were filled with sadness and disappointment. Although the little blue dragon was an exotic beast, it had the intelligence of a human. Back on Earth, when it saw Yang Tian with his family, its homesickness grew even stronger. "Xiaolong, why don't we wait here for a while? Perhaps a miracle will happen." Yang Tian went up to comfort the little blue dragon when he saw that it was in a bad mood. The little blue dragon nodded and turned back into its mini dragon form, landing on Yang Tian's shoulder. After returning to the spaceship, Yang Tian started the spaceship and started flying around this empty space. By doing this, Yang Tian hoped to find a flaw in this starry sky. What made Yang Tian feel strange was that after coming to this starfield, he realized that his intuition didn't seem to work. If it was before, even if the dragon's starfield didn't exist here, his intuition would have vaguely told him the answer. Another problem was that this space was too clean, not even a speck of space dust could be found. Moreover, the orbits of the planets at the edge of this empty space didn't seem to conform to any rules. This was also the reason why Yang Tian decided to let the spaceship fly around this starfield. In order to make the little blue dragon not feel sad, Yang Tian told the little blue dragon about this. The little blue dragon's mood finally improved. The reason why it was so sad was actually because it was too anxious. That kind of feeling was like returning to his own home, but being rejected by his family. While the black dragon spaceship was flying, the strange program also showed a blue dragon-shaped projection, floating beside Yang Tian. The strange program was constantly paying attention to whether there were any rune energy fluctuations or the existence of a rune array. To be able to hide an entire starfield, it could only be done by using a rune array. Time slowly passed, and the Black Dragon spaceship flew around this starfield over and over again. On Earth's time, when the 9th day passed, the strange program told Yang Tian that it had detected time rune energy. Although this time rune energy had only appeared for a moment and was very weak, the strange program still managed to obtain a lot of information. It told Yang Tian that there was most likely a space-time tunnel in this space. A space-time tunnel. When Yang Tian was still a middle school student, he had fantasized about using a space-time tunnel to go back to before the outbreak of the YS virus and think of a way to prevent humans from bringing the YS virus to Earth. However, he understood that this was just a fantasy and couldn't be realized. After time passed, the people and things that existed during that time would disappear along with time. At this time, Yang Tian heard the strange program mention the words space-time tunnel. He wasn't surprised because he knew that it actually existed. This also explained why the dragon starfield had disappeared. If the time of the entire starfield was projected to the time before the dragon starfield was created, no one outside would be able to sense its existence. After discovering the time rune energy fluctuations, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon became happy. This was because they both knew that the dragon starfield really existed. For the next 10 days, Yang Tian still had the spaceship fly around this part of the starfield. During this process, the strange program discovered that the location of the time rune energy fluctuations was constantly changing, but the time of appearance was regular. Using Earth's time to calculate, the time rune energy would appear about once every 12 days. The time it would appear was about half a second. The place where the time rune energy fluctuations were emitted was very likely the entrance to the space-time tunnel of the dragon starfield. As long as they could enter, the dragon starfield would appear before their eyes. After 120 days and collecting enough information, the strange program finally deduced the various points where the time rune energy fluctuations were emitted. Because it had received this energy 10 times, the strange program could tell Yang Tian that it was the entrance. If they wanted to enter, they had to seize that short half a second. Another 12 days passed. I wonder how High Priest Kaya found the dragon starfield. Yang Tian thought as he stared unblinkingly at a point in front of him. Move. Suddenly, the strange program's voice rang in Yang Tian's mind. Yang Tian's figure moved, and he immediately brought the little blue dragon to the point in front of them. For a great astral god like Yang Tian, half a second was actually a very long time. When they arrived at the point calculated by the strange program, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon suddenly disappeared. Chapter 608. In an instant, when Yang Tian and the little blue dragon reappeared, they had arrived at a very mystical planetary sector. In the middle of this planetary sector there was a giant star. Revolving around it were 9 giant planets. The 9 planets were of different colors. According to their distance from the star, they were black, white, green, red, blue, yellow, cyan, purple, and gold. There were 9 huge planets, and each planet had 3 to 5 moons of varying sizes. The light from the star was reflected into space by the 9 planets, forming a peculiar 9-colored halo that enveloped this planetary sector. Yang Tian could not help but exclaim, "It's so beautiful!" At this time, the little blue dragon's eyes were also filled with enchantment. This was its home. It was really beautiful. Whoosh! Just as Yang Tian finished speaking, there was suddenly a whistling sound. There was a flash of black light, and a young man in black armor appeared in front of Yang Tian. This person had long black hair, and the black armor on his body was engraved with mystical dragon patterns. Judging from the energy ripples coming from this person, he should be at the superstar realm. The black-armored man stopped 100 meters away from Yang Tian and said coldly, "Human, please leave this place. The dragon starfield does not welcome you." Human? Was this person not a human? A huge question mark appeared in Yang Tian's mind. Suddenly, he realized that this was the dragon starfield. Most of the life forms that lived here were dragons. Clearly, this black-armored man was a dragon that had transformed into human form. Yang Tian knew from High Priest Kaya's description that in this planetary sector, there were powerful beings that had transformed into human form. What made Yang Tian feel strange was that this person was only at the superstar realm. Dragon. How could he transform into a human? The little blue dragon was already at the great star god realm, but he could not transform into human form. "You are a dragon?" The surprised Yang Tian could not help but ask. When Yang Tian asked this question, the black-armored young man frowned and his face darkened. It was like on Earth, when one person asked another, "Are you a human?" There was a sense of cursing. Yang Tian had just arrived, and he didn't know the situation yet. He didn't want to have any conflicts with the dragon race. Seeing the black-armored young man's unhappy expression, he hurriedly said, "I'm not a human. Oh, I should be considered half a dragon. There's also the little dragon, it's a complete dragon." After Yang Tian finished speaking, the black-armored young man glanced at the little blue dragon lying on Yang Tian's shoulder and said in a disdainful tone, "A proud dragon actually became a human's pet beast. Such a race is not allowed to appear in the dragon starfield." The moment Yang Tian heard, he could not help furrowing his brows. The black-armored youth's words were seriously too unpleasant to hear. This person looked down on the status of humans. The funny thing was, since he said humans were low class, why did he transform into a human's appearance? Yang Tian suppressed his anger and said, "Let me make it clear, Xiao Long is not my pet beast. We are brothers. We won't be staying here for long this time. Xiao Long wants to find his parents and meet them." As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, the little blue dragon hurriedly nodded. "No." The black-armored young man still refused coldly. I advise you to leave this place quickly because becoming a human's pet beast will bring shame to the entire race." It seemed that the black-armored young man did not believe Yang Tian's words at all and firmly believed that the little blue dragon was Yang Tian's pet beast. After the black-armored young man finished speaking, the little blue dragon let out a low cry. It told the black-armored young man that he only needed to stay in the dragon's starfield for a short period of time, and it was fine even if he did not meet his parents. When it said this, the little blue dragon appeared to be a little sad. It had never returned home since it was young. It did not expect to be chased away by its own kind as soon as it returned. If it were Yang Tian or anyone else, they would also be sad. The black-armored young man was a dragon, so he naturally understood what the little blue dragon was saying. However, he still did not agree and even took out a long black whip from his storage bracelet. It seemed that if Yang Tian and the little blue dragon did not leave, he was going to chase them away. For a moment, Yang Tian did not know what to do. Seeing Yang Tian's troubled expression, the black-armored young man shook the black whip and let out a whistling sound. He looked at the little blue dragon with a cold smile and said, "If you kill this person, according to the rules of the dragon race, it will be considered as washing away the shame on your body." As soon as the black-armored young man finished speaking, the little blue dragon opened its eyes and immediately left Yang Tian's shoulder and transformed into a golden dragon. Seeing the little blue dragon's appearance, the black-armored young man could not help but widen his eyes. Golden dragon. Within the dragon race, the golden dragon was the noblest existence. Within the dragon race there was also a strict hierarchy. It could be seen from the arrangement of the planet. This black-armored young man's original form was obviously a black dragon. The black planet that he lived on was at the outskirts of the starfield. This meant that the black dragon should be the lowest level dragon among the dragon race. Boom! Just as the black-armored young man was still in shock, the little blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out a golden dragon flame at him. The black-armored young man's words just now had angered the little blue dragon. Ah! Facing the dragon flame that was coming at him, the black-armored young man screamed in shock. He did not have time to dodge and was enveloped by the golden dragon flame. To the little blue dragon, this black-armored young man was a must-kill. Therefore, when it spat out the dragon flame, the little blue dragon used its powerful spirit power to prevent the black-armored young man from escaping. Boom! There was a muffled sound. Suddenly, a dark red dragon ball rushed out of the flames and flew toward the nearest black planet. The angry little blue dragon unleashed a bolt of lightning and struck the dragon ball. With a loud bang, the dark red dragon pearl suddenly exploded and turned into a bright light in the universe, disappearing without a trace. The black-armored young man that was transformed from a dragon was killed by the little blue dragon just like that. The black-armored young man's death caused a huge commotion. What the little blue dragon and Yang Tian did not know was that in this galaxy, it was fine for the dragons to fight, but they could not destroy the opponent's Dragon Ball. That was because the Dragon Ball was where the dragon's life essence and consciousness were. Even if the body was destroyed, the Dragon Ball could return to the planet and enter the Dragonize pool and form a powerful body again. The little blue dragon had destroyed this black dragon's Dragon Ball, which was equivalent to completely killing this black dragon. If there was no deep hatred between the dragons, such a situation would not occur in a battle between the dragons. The Dragon Galaxy was protected by a special glyph array. The dragons that lived in this galaxy lived very comfortably. Normally, most of the dragons, especially the dragons that had transformed into humans, would enjoy themselves to their heart's content. Every clan would only send a small number of dragons to patrol outside the planet. Although the dragons in this galaxy would often fight, the end result would at most be the destruction of their physical bodies. Deaths had not happened for a very, very long time. After the black dragon's Dragon Ball exploded in space, circles of energy fluctuations with the aura of death spread out into the distance. The first to notice it was the Black Dragon clan that lived on the Black Planet. The little blue dragon and Yang Tian did not realize the seriousness of the matter at all. After killing a black dragon that was in the way, the man and the dragon were preparing to go to the farthest golden planet. Thousands of powerful auras appeared from the nearest black planet and rushed towards Yang Tian and the others. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon stopped after noticing these auras. They both understood that after killing the black dragon, they would definitely alarm the Black Dragon clan. Although these auras were powerful, none of the dragons could compare to Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. In a few breaths, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were surrounded by a group of black dragons and black-armored Black Dragon clan soldiers that had transformed into human form. These dragons were far away from the little blue dragon and Yang Tian. This was because the little blue dragon and Yang Tian no longer hid the energy auras in their bodies. At the same time, these black dragons were also afraid of the little blue dragon's identity. The little blue dragon was a giant golden dragon. In the Dragon Clan, the giant golden dragon had the highest status. A portion of the giant golden dragon clan was born with it. For example, if a male and female dragon were both giant golden dragons, their descendants would also be giant golden dragons when they grew up. However, although this kind of dragon had the appearance of a giant golden dragon, it did not have a matching realm. There was also a type of giant golden dragon. After other dragons advanced, they activated the special bloodline in their bodies and grew into giant golden dragons. In the Dragon Clan, such dragons were rare, but every one of them was a powerful existence. It was worth mentioning that male and female dragons of different realms could not produce offspring when they were together. If Yang Tian knew this information, he would understand that the little blue dragon's parents should have been azure dragons when they were pregnant with the little blue dragon. In the Dragon Clan, the Azure Dragon Clan status was still relatively high, second only to the giant Golden Dragon Clan and the Purple Dragon Clan. Yang Tian did not know much about the Dragon Clan. As for the little blue dragon, although it had inherited memories, it did not know much about it. Its inherited memories were filled with battle and survival experience. The little blue dragon's power and noble form intimidated all the black dragons. Although the black dragons surrounded Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, they did not dare to act rashly. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon looked at the many black dragons. When they did not understand the situation, although the black dragons looked unfriendly, they were not prepared to attack these black dragons first. If these black dragons attacked them, the little blue dragon and Yang Tian would not be polite. Time passed by slowly. Soon, the white dragon, who had a higher status than the black dragons, appeared. After a while, the green dragon, the red dragon finally, a giant golden dragon arrived. The giant golden dragon that arrived was also in human form. He looked like a middle-aged man. This person had long golden hair and golden eyebrows. He wore a beautiful golden armor and looked extremely dignified and noble. As soon as he arrived, the other dragons took the initiative to make way for him. This middle-aged man stopped 1,000 meters away from the little blue dragon and Yang Tian. He sized up the little blue dragon and Yang Tian and asked indifferently, "What's going on?" As soon as this middle-aged man asked, a black-armored old man flashed over and told him what happened. This black-armored old man's words could be considered fair. From these words, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon knew that they had gotten into big trouble. They were outsiders, but as soon as they arrived, they violated the rules and killed a black dragon. Outside the dragon starfield, this was not a big deal. But this was the dragon starfield, so there were naturally dragon rules. This middle-aged man was also a great star god. After the black-armored old man finished speaking, he was silent for a moment and said indifferently, "No matter what, he is still considered a member of my giant golden dragon clan. Even if we want to deal with them, It is our clan's matter. You have no right. Let them come with me. We will naturally give your Black Dragon clan an explanation. After the middle-aged man in golden armor finished speaking, the black-armored old man pointed at Yang Tian and said, "He is not a dragon. We have to deal with him." Hearing this, Yang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. A cold expression appeared in the little blue dragon's eyes again. Chapter 609. The Black Dragons wanted to keep Yang Tian here. Among the 9 dragon tribes in the Dragon Starfield, the Black Dragons had the lowest status, and they cared a lot about their reputation. It was obvious that the Black Dragons could not do anything to the little blue dragon because the little blue dragon was a golden dragon. Its level was much higher than the Black Dragons. Therefore, the Black Dragons wanted to regain their reputation from Yang Tian. The middle-aged man in golden armor frowned. He felt that this was going to be difficult. Roar! Faced with the black-armored old man's unreasonable request, the little blue dragon let out a roar and stared at the black-armored old man coldly. This roar was the little blue dragon's declaration of war against the black-armored old man. The dragons loved to fight. The most direct way to solve a problem was to fight. Fine. Faced with the little blue dragon's declaration of war, the black-armored old man pointed at the little blue dragon and angrily said, "Fine," twice. This meant that he had agreed to the little blue dragon's challenge. The black-armored old man was an elder of the black dragons. He was also a great astral god. Unfortunately, in the process of increasing his level, he did not transform into a golden dragon. In other words, his physical body had not reached the strongest level among the dragons. The reason why the golden dragons had the highest status among the dragons was because their physical bodies were the most perfect when compared to others at the same level. Under the gaze of the other dragons, the black-armored old man shone with a black light. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into a black dragon that was the same size as the little blue dragon. Roar! After the transformation, the black dragon let out a roar at the little blue dragon. A cold smile appeared on the little blue dragon's face. Its huge body flashed and pounced toward the black dragon. In an instant, it appeared above the black dragon's head and slammed its claw toward the black dragon's head. The black dragon lowered its head and swung its tail. It dodged to the side and dodged the little blue dragon's claw. Then, it turned around and opened its mouth to spit out a black dragon flame at the little blue dragon. The black dragon flame had a very high temperature. As soon as it appeared, the space around it began to distort. Faced with the dragon flame, the little blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out a golden dragon flame. Boom! A muffled thump rang out as the golden dragon flames dispersed the black dragon flames and continued to envelop the black dragon. In the dragon's flames, the black dragon's black dragon flame was clearly at a disadvantage. Looking at the golden dragon flames that were about to engulf him, a vicious look flashed across the black dragon's eyes. Suddenly, its huge body trembled, and it disappeared from where it stood. Seeing that, Yang Tian was. This was because when the two dragons were fighting, the space around them had solidified, forming a kind of domain. Only great star god realm experts would be able to move freely in this sort of domain. Dragon's head. The black dragon's sudden disappearance went against common sense. The black dragon must have used some special method. Dragons were as smart as humans. When they were fighting, they would use weapons, runic artifacts, and other support items. It broke through space. It has the power of runes. At this time, the voice of Bizarro programming rang in Yang Tian's mind. Just as Yang Tian expected, the black dragon used a runic artifact. The dragon race had existed in the universe for a very long time. A long time ago, they were very active in the universe. They had even enslaved humans. It was normal for such an ancient and powerful race to have a runic artifact. When the black dragon reappeared, it was already next to the little blue dragon. It bit at the little blue dragon's neck. The black dragon's speed was very fast, and it was too sudden. The little blue dragon could not react in time and was bitten on the neck by the black dragon. Seeing this, Yang Tian opened his eyes and wanted to help. But the middle-aged man in golden armor suddenly appeared next to Yang Tian and said to Yang Tian, "It's best if you don't interfere in their fight." Yang Tian looked at the middle-aged man in golden armor and snorted in dissatisfaction. Roar! The little blue dragon, whose neck was bitten by the black dragon, let out a roar of anger and pain. The black dragon bit at the little blue dragon's neck and tried to tear it apart. At this time, a large amount of dragon blood flowed out from the black dragon's mouth. This was not the black dragon's blood. It was the blood that flowed out from the little blue dragon's neck. Seeing this, Yang Tian's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he gritted his teeth. The middle-aged man in golden armor, who had been paying attention to Yang Tian, suddenly appeared in front of Yang Tian and looked at Yang Tian expressionlessly. Yang Tian clenched his fists and prepared for the next battle. However, before he could move, a bolt of lightning shot out from the little blue dragon's dragon horn and struck the black dragon. At this time, the black dragon spat out black dragon flames from its mouth. The powerful electric current made the black dragon's body tremble. The mouth that was biting the little blue dragon's neck loosened. The little blue dragon took this opportunity and shook its head violently, pulling its neck out from the black dragon's mouth. In order to escape from the black dragon's mouth, the little blue dragon paid a huge price. A few dragon scales on its neck fell off and several deep wounds appeared on its neck. The wounds were burned by the black dragon flames and became charred black. Soon, red blood seeped out. The black dragon was very cunning. When the little blue dragon escaped from its mouth, it quickly dodged to the side. The little blue dragon, who had escaped, did not immediately attack the black dragon. This was because the black dragon's teeth were poisonous. The venom entered through its wounds and flowed along its blood, trying to corrode its body. This kind of venom could not cause fatal damage to the little blue dragon, but it could affect the little blue dragon's movements for a short period of time. It had to be said that the black dragon had a lot of experience in fighting with its own kind. This was not strange. In the recent tens of thousands of years, the dragons of the dragon starfield rarely went out. Their usual training could only be with their own kind. It was worth mentioning that the dragon race respected strength. Whether it was to obtain a spouse, status, or honor, they had to defeat their competitors. The black dragon race's strength was their venom. Looking at the little blue dragon from afar, the black dragon's eyes showed a sneer. It was very confident in its own venom. Even if it was a golden dragon, after its venom entered its body, it would lose or greatly reduce its fighting ability for a long time. The little blue dragon's two big dragon eyes blinked at this time, seeming a little confused. In the eyes of the black dragon, this was a sign of being poisoned. When the black dragon saw the little blue dragon's current appearance, it was confident that its next attack would be able to completely defeat the little blue dragon. This was because not only did the venom have a numbing effect on the little blue dragon, but the black dragon also had a rune treasure that could break through domains. This allowed the black dragon to not be affected by the freezing of space when fighting, and could use its fastest speed. If it was a dragon that lived in the dragon starfield, it would be wary of the black dragon's venom when fighting with the black dragon. Although the little blue dragon did not know, its body was also invaded by the venom now. However, there was a strange origin power in its body. Under the effect of the origin power, the venom in the little blue dragon's body was quickly removed. The smart little blue dragon still pretended to be confused at this time. This was called all is fair in war. At this time, the little blue dragon's wound had already stopped bleeding, and the wound was healing at an extremely fast speed. When the black dragon saw this recovery ability, it was incomparably envious. It had already entered an old state. Although it had great strength, the vitality of its body could not be compared to a young dragon. "I can't wait any longer." A fierce look flashed across the black dragon's eyes again. This time, it decided to completely destroy the little blue dragon's body. If there was a chance, it would be best if it could devour the little blue dragon's dragon pearl. In this way, it would have a chance to evolve into a golden dragon. It was not only humans who had greed, but also dragons. The black dragon's body disappeared on the spot once again. This attack method was the same as before. In countless battles with its own kind, it had always used this method to win against stronger competitors. In the end, it became one of the elders of the Black Dragon clan, and had a high position in the Black Dragon clan. Although the opponents it defeated all knew that it had a rune treasure and wanted to guard against this attack method, it was useless. In a situation where the difference in strength was not much, speed was the key to victory. The little blue dragon, who was no longer affected by the venom, was always on guard against the black dragon's attacks. It also had a unique attack method. That was mental power. Mental power was very special. It could ignore space and even time energy. The moment the black dragon disappeared, the little blue dragon also moved. Powerful mental power erupted from its body and formed a new domain around the little blue dragon. In this domain, the little blue dragon could also move at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, mental power could also help the little blue dragon sense and restrain the black dragon. When the black dragon appeared again, it was already above the little blue dragon. It lowered its head and bit the back of the little blue dragon's neck. Last time, the little blue dragon did not pay attention. It did not expect the black dragon to have a rune treasure and fell into the black dragon's trap. This time was different. The little blue dragon was prepared. If it was in ancient times, this kind of battle would be unfair. Killing intent appeared in the little blue dragon's heart once again. It did not care about the rules of the dragon clan. Was a dragon that was bound by rules still a proud dragon? In an instant, the black dragon opened its mouth and was about to bite the little blue dragon. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian became nervous again. However, when he felt the little blue dragon's calm mood, he could not help but laugh. This was a rare battle between great star god level dragons in the dragon clan. It was very exciting. The little blue dragon and the black dragon's every move made the surrounding dragons widen their eyes. Some dragons hated the black dragon and hoped that the little blue dragon would win. There were also dragons who looked down on the little blue dragon who stayed with humans and hoped that the black dragon clan's elder would win. The black dragon originally thought that it could bite the little blue dragon again. However, the little blue dragon actually flashed in front of its eyes and moved to the side, causing it to bite empty air. At this moment, the black dragon's eyes widened. It had a bad feeling. As expected, when it wanted to use the rune artifact to move quickly again, it suddenly realized that its body was trapped by a powerful and strange power, making it difficult for it to move. This power was not spatial power. Because if it was spatial power, it would not be able to trap it because it had the rune artifact that could break through spatial power. Spirit power. In an instant, the black dragon thought of a possibility. Only mental power could achieve such an effect. The black dragon did not expect that a dragon could use the spirit power that humans were so good at. The little blue dragon took the opportunity to trap the black dragon and bit the black dragon's neck, just like how the black dragon did to it before. Boom! At the same time, the little blue dragon spat out golden dragon flames from its mouth. The dragon flames contained the force and had great destructive power. Not only that, when the little blue dragon bit the black dragon's neck, the energy within its body was continuously transferred into the black dragon's body. This power also had the force attribute. Roar! The black dragon that was bitten by the little blue dragon opened its mouth and let out a roar. Before it could even finish its roar, its head was suddenly separated from its body. The little blue dragon's dragon flames had burned off its neck. The terrifying destructive power of the force was something that even a dragon would find difficult to defend against. Seeing this, the dragons that were watching, including the middle-aged man in golden armor, were all shocked. Because after the black dragon's head was separated from its body, the life force in its body also disappeared. Where was its dragon pearl? Even if its physical body was destroyed, as long as its dragon pearl was still there, it could still enter the Dragonai's pool to rebuild its physical body. The little azure dragon couldn't be blamed for this, because the black dragon that it had just killed had also revealed its intention to kill it. If the little blue dragon was killed by the black dragon would take the opportunity to swallow the little blue dragon's dragon pearl. The dragons that were watching could all see this. Now that the black dragon had been killed by the little blue dragon, the dragons of the Black Dragon clan had no reason to care about the little blue dragon and Yang Tian. According to the rules, the little blue dragon's previous killing of the young dragon guard of the Black Dragon clan was also written off. After the little blue dragon killed the Black Dragon clan's elder, it returned to Yang Tian's side. Yang Tian hurriedly checked the wound on the little blue dragon's neck. Seeing that the little blue dragon was fine and that the wound was no longer bleeding and had begun to heal, Yang Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately, Yang Tian took out a superstar warrior level beast core from his storage bracelet and put it into the little blue dragon's mouth. Seeing that Yang Tian casually took out a superstar level beast core for the little blue dragon to swallow, many dragons had envious expressions in their eyes. After what had happened just now, everyone could see that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon were indeed not master and servant. After the Black Dragon clan's elder was killed by the little blue dragon, some of the people, who had transformed into human form, immediately flashed in front of the huge dragon corpse. Roar! 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 When a member of the Black Dragon clan took out a dark red dragon pearl about 1 meter in diameter from the dragon's mouth, all the black dragons raised their heads and roared. They used this method to send off the clan's elder. When Yang Tian saw this situation, he finally understood why the Dragon clan had to transform into humans. It was because only humans could do many delicate things, such as taking out the dragon pearl from the dragon's mouth. Other than these simple things, such as building houses, making tools, and so on, it was very difficult to complete them with a dragon's body. Unless all dragons were like the little blue dragon and could use spiritual power to control objects. Looking at the huge dragon pearl, Yang Tian was a little covetous. This was a good thing. If he could obtain it, he could make it into a great star god level beast core. Although the black dragon was killed by the little blue dragon, most of the energy in his body was condensed in the dragon pearl. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, Yang Tian threw it out of his mind. Because at the same time, a strong feeling of resistance appeared in Yang Tian's heart. Because that was the dragon pearl. During his previous training, Yang Tian had to consume a black dragon's dragon pearl in order to kill Gu Ao. But that time, it was the little blue dragon who took the initiative to give the dragon pearl to Yang Tian. The black dragons looked at the little blue dragon and Yang Tian with hatred in their eyes and flew towards the black planet with the dragon pearl and the dragon corpse. This battle was finally over. The Black Dragon clan left, but the dragons of the other clans remained in place and did not disperse. Because the little blue dragon and Yang Tian were outsiders, they had to listen to the golden-armored middle-aged man's opinion. Chapter 6:10. All of you disperse. The golden-armored middle-aged man looked at the dragons of various colors around him, waved his hand and said indifferently. Only then did the crowd of dragons disperse and return to their respective planet. The little blue dragon turned back into a mini-dragon and landed on Yang Tian's shoulder. After all the dragons left, the golden-armored middle-aged man said indifferently, "This matter is considered over, but you can't stay in the dragon star domain for long. Once you're done with your business, you'd better leave as soon as possible." After saying that, the golden-armored middle-aged man looked at the little blue dragon and said, "Although you're also a dragon, you don't belong here. Your temperament has decided that you should roam the outside world. We're here this time to find Xiaolong's parents." After the golden-armored middle-aged man finished speaking, Yang Tian immediately said, "Follow me." After the golden-armored middle-aged man finished speaking, he turned around and flew towards the golden planet in the distance. Yang Tian brought the little blue dragon and immediately followed. After landing on the huge golden planet, Yang Tian realized that the situation on the planet is different from what he imagined. Looking from the starry sky, this planet is golden, but on the ground, the environment is basically the same as Earth. On this planet, there were yellow lands, green forests, and blue oceans. There were also many islands in the ocean. The gravity of the planet is not as great as Yang Tian had guessed. It is only about 1.5 times that of Earth. The reason why it looks golden when looking from the starry sky is because there are many tall talisman arrays set up on the surface of this planet. These talisman arrays are constantly operating, and on each array platform, there is a huge golden dragon coiled up. They look like they are sleeping. The golden light is emitted from these dragons and projected into the sky. Therefore, looking from the outside, this planet looks golden. Whether it is the land, the ocean, the islands, or the forests, they are all covered with such talisman arrays. The scene looks very spectacular. Other than these huge array platforms, there are also many exquisite and grand palaces. The palaces are all golden. After landing on the planet, Yang Tian carefully sensed the energy fluctuations emitted by the dragons on the planet. What made Yang Tian surprised was that on this planet, there was actually no dragon whose realm surpassed the great star god realm. This was a very strange matter. Among the humans, there could be experts that surpassed the great star god realm, so why couldn't there be any in the dragon race? This is the golden dragon star. After landing, the golden-armored middle-aged man looked at Yang Tian and said, "The seniors who built the dragon starfield were the same as you. They all came from the same planet. This is something that happened millions of years ago." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, Yang Tian opened his eyes wide. Seeing Yang Tian's surprised expression, the golden-armored middle-aged man continued, "Actually, our ancestors came from outside this universe, and so did your ancestors. In the distant past, the environment of this universe was not like this." Yang Tian finally understood why this planet was called the Golden Dragon Planet. Golden, this description came from the language of the humans on Earth. Previously, when Yang Tian heard the golden-armored middle-aged man say the 3 words Golden Dragon Planet, he thought it was a coincidence. As for the ancestors of the humans on Earth also came from outside this universe, Yang Tian did not find it strange. Last time, in the small world of the Star Mine Master, he almost died. The mysterious black-robed man showed him that no matter if it was strength or aura, it was not something the humans of this universe could compare to. From the golden-armored middle-aged man's words, Yang Tian could guess that if the little blue dragon was not taken away from the dragon starfield, then it must be the descendant of the dragons that existed on Earth for millions of years, or even longer. Perhaps, according to seniority, the little blue dragon was the ancestor of the dragons in the dragon starfield. Thinking of this possibility, Yang Tian wanted to laugh. The little blue dragon was very smart and naturally understood the meaning of the golden-armored middle-aged man's words. At this time, its expression was a little nervous. The little blue dragon hoped to find its parents in the dragon starfield. "Then, how can we find Xiaolong's parents?" After the golden-armored middle-aged man finished speaking, Yang Tian asked. The golden-armored middle-aged man said, "It's very simple. Through its bloodline, we can know which clan it belongs to and which era it was born in. Come with me." After saying that, the golden-armored middle-aged man flashed and disappeared from the spot. Yang Tian immediately followed. The golden-armored middle-aged man brought Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to a huge temple-like building. This building was like the Temple of Heaven built in the Ming Dynasty in China. The whole building was golden. In fact, it was built with gold as the main alloy material. In this temple, the circular walls were covered with murals. On the murals were dragons of various shapes and sizes, as well as other strange beasts. In the center of this building, there was a high platform. The golden-armored middle-aged man brought Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to the high platform. On the stage, Yang Tian discovered that in the middle of the stage, there was a pool with a diameter of about 5 meters. The pool was filled with multicolored liquid that emitted a faint glow, making it look extremely beautiful. This is our Dragon Clan's bloodline pool. Like the transformation pool, it is our Dragon Clan's treasure. After saying that, the golden-armored middle-aged man said to the little blue dragon, "Take a drop of blood and drip it into the bloodline pool. Perhaps you can get the answer." The little blue dragon nodded and left Yang Tian's shoulder, transforming into a Xiao Long several meters long in the air. Floating above the bloodline pool, the little blue dragon scratched its forehead. A cut appeared on its forehead and a drop of blood seeped out. This was just a drop of ordinary blood. Under the nervous expression of the little blue dragon, the drop of blood dripped into the bloodline pool. The liquid in the bloodline pool was originally calm. When the little blue dragon's drop of blood dripped into the bloodline pool, the liquid in the bloodline pool boiled like water. The runes engraved on the side of the pool immediately lit up. In the sky above the bloodline pool, the image of a dragon appeared. Because it was an image, it was impossible to distinguish its color. However, on the forehead of this dragon, there was an obvious flame-shaped mark. When the little blue dragon and Yang Tian saw it, they didn't think much of it. However, the golden-armored middle-aged man's eyes widened in surprise. Under the curious eyes of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon, the golden-armored middle-aged man turned around and prostrated himself on the ground towards the little blue dragon. He said, "So, you are the descendant of the ancestral dragon. We have been rude." Ancestral dragon? Yang Tian rolled his eyes and understood. It turned out that the little blue dragon's seniority was very high. In terms of seniority, it was the ancestor of these dragons. It seemed that finding the parents of the little blue dragon wasn't as simple as finding the dragon starfield. Chapter 6:11. In his excitement, the golden-armored middle-aged man bowed to the little blue dragon, stood up, and said to the little blue dragon, "Your parents are definitely not in the dragon starfield. Because when the dragon starfield appeared, the ancestral dragons had long ceased to exist in this universe." After the golden-armored middle-aged man finished speaking, the little blue dragon's expression became gloomy. The little blue dragon, who had great expectations before, had worked for nothing. At this time, Yang Tian comforted the little blue dragon. "Xiao Long, don't be discouraged, let's go to that world. Maybe there you can find your parents." The little blue dragon nodded. Since they already knew the answer, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon didn't need to stay in the dragon's starfield. When Yang Tian was about to say that he wanted to leave, the golden-armored middle-aged man smiled and said, "Don't be in a hurry to leave now. The scenery of the dragon starfield is very beautiful. You can stay for a while. You may be interested in some of the treasures and special places of our dragon clan." Previously, the golden-armored middle-aged man suggested that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon leave as soon as possible, but now that he found out that the little blue dragon was the descendant of the ancestral dragon, he wanted to keep them and was very enthusiastic. "Xiao Long, what do you think?" Yang Tian asked the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon nodded. The little blue dragon was also very curious about this starfield. Seeing that the little blue dragon agreed, the golden-armored middle-aged man smiled happily. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon didn't notice that a trace of excitement flashed through the golden-armored middle-aged man's eyes. What is an ancestral dragon? Yang Tian asked curiously as they walked out. The golden-armored middle-aged man said, "The ancestral dragons in our dragon clan are the 1st to 3rd generation dragons. The 4th to 9th generations are called the descendants of the ancestral dragon. From the 10th generation onwards, the bloodline power in our bodies is far inferior to the first 9 generations. In the later process of inheritance, you also saw the black dragon, white dragon." When the golden-armored middle-aged man said this, Yang Tian finally understood that this kind of definition should be related to bloodline. After the golden-armored middle-aged man finished speaking, Yang Tian smiled and said, "I still don't know your name? My name is Xiao Long." The golden-armored middle-aged man said, "Dragon Long Long Hao, a good name." Yang Tian praised. At this time, young dragon's long dragon's heart. Dragon Little Blue Dragon was ancestral dragons, and Little Dragon. Yang was dragon was dragon's descendant ancestral dragon. No matter how young this ancestor was, he would be especially respected. After leaving the temple, Yang Tian looked at the high platforms in the distance and asked, "What are those?" Yang Tian was asking about the platforms where the dragons were entrenched. When Yang Tian passed by those platforms earlier, the strange program had reminded him that each of those platforms was shrouded in a type of time energy. Long Hao glanced at the platforms in the distance and sighed. Because their lifespans have reached the end, they chose to hibernate in order to survive in this world. Until the day the ancestral dragons returned to this place. Speaking up to here, Long Hao did not continue speaking. Not only humans but dragons were also afraid of death. They would do everything they could to prolong their existence in this world. Because after death, there would be nothing left. Long Hao arranged for Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to stay in a luxurious, small palace. After coming here, Yang Tian realized that dragons were the same as humans. They also knew how to enjoy life. The palace was spotless, and all the utensils were clean as if they were new. The floor was covered with soft carpets. After coming to this palace, Yang Tian did not discover any high-tech things, but there were many tools that used rune energy. For example, the crystal-like chandeliers at the top of the palace were lit by the energy of burning stellar crystals. The palace's temperature was also adjusted by rune arrays. The dragon clan here was much more meticulous in their use of runes than the humans outside. After bringing Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to the palace, Long Hao immediately left to let Yang Tian and the little blue dragon have a good rest. Tomorrow, a grand banquet would be held for the little blue dragon and Yang Tian. The elders of various races would be invited to the banquet. Yang Tian did not object. He was also very curious about the dragons. Such a luxurious palace naturally had butlers, servants, and so on. After Long Hao left, 18 beautiful women walked in and bowed to the little blue dragon and Yang Tian. After getting up, the leading young woman said to Yang Tian and the little blue dragon that they could satisfy any needs of the guest. Yang Tian sized up the 18 beautiful women and was surprised to find that only 8 of them were dragons. As for the other 10, they were transformed from other exotic beasts. This made Yang Tian feel as if he had entered the world of fairies. Actually, this was not strange. When creatures evolved to a new realm, they could change the body's cell structure and rearrange the cells. This was the so-called transformation. This was a fundamental change in appearance. It was much more advanced than the plastic surgery technology of humans on Earth, and there were no side effects. Although the young women arranged by Long Hao were servants, they were all life forms of the superstar realm. Not only were they beautiful, but they were also very seductive. They looked like they were ready to be tasted. The dragons were a powerful race. They were even more open than humans when it came to these conveniences. Seeing the young and beautiful dragon women, the little blue dragon could not help but open his eyes wide. This was the first time he had such close contact with the opposite sex of the same race. The male hormones in his body were probably rapidly secreting. Although they were all human in appearance, he could tell which race they belonged to from the life aura they emitted. This was an ability that was born after a life form evolved to a high level. He was not interested in human women, but the little blue dragon had a different feeling when it came to dragon women. In the dragon race, powerful male dragons were even more possessive than human men. Seeing the hungry look in the little blue dragon's eyes, Yang Tian could not help but laugh. He thought that the little blue dragon had really grown up and even had the desire to pick up girls. You stay. The rest of you can leave. Yang Tian pointed at a woman who was not a dragon and said with a smile. When Yang Tian said that, the little blue dragon's eyes were filled with disappointment. He was still thinking about having intimate contact with the dragon women. It was not as troublesome for male dragons to pursue female dragons as it was for humans. They also had to look at appearance, family background, wealth, and so on. As long as a male dragon was strong enough, he could get any kind of female dragon. The 18 maids looked at each other and said yes. The young woman who was designated by Yang Tian stayed, and the others immediately turned and left. Chapter 6:12. After the 17 maids left, the little blue dragon helplessly jumped onto a beam at the top of the hall and closed its eyes to take a nap. At the same time, it expressed its dissatisfaction with Yang Tian. Little Azure Dragon had no interest in the young woman who was not from the dragon clan. What's your name? Yang Tian glanced at the petulant little blue dragon, sat on the carpet, and asked the maid with a smile. Then, he gestured for her to sit down. My name is Qing Yin, from the Winged Clan. The maid replied and sat down in front of Yang Tian. Winged Clan. Yang Tian was very curious. Qing Yin said, in the Dragon Starfield, the Winged Clan has wings and is a life form that can fly. What is Long Hao's status in the Dragon Clan? Yang Tian asked again. This was the reason why Yang Tian left Qing Yin behind. In front of Long Hao, Yang Tian couldn't ask these things. In addition to knowing Long Hao's identity, he also wanted to know some things about the Dragon Clan in the Dragon Starfield. When Yang Tian asked this, the little blue dragon suddenly opened its eyes. Qing Yin replied, Long Hao is the great elder of the Golden Dragon Clan, and also the youngest elder in history. He is very powerful. Yang Tian nodded and asked again, is there no king in your dragon clan? Qing Yin said, there used to be one, but after a few wars, the dragon clan abolished the king and changed to the elders to jointly discuss and decide on the clan's affairs. In fact, in the Dragon Starfield, there are usually no major matters. The elders are very idle. Then what do you rely on to cultivate? This is a sealed space. After a long time, there shouldn't be any resources left, right? Yang Tian asked again. When Yang Tian asked this question, Qing Yin's expression became gloomy and said, the dragon clan devours beast cores. Speaking up to here, Qing Yin couldn't say anything. Seeing Qing Yin's expression, Yang Tian suddenly understood. Alright, there's nothing else, you can go. Yang Tian raised his hand and said to Qing Yin. Qing Yin was stunned, then stood up, bowed to Yang Tian and left the palace. After Qing Yin left, Yang Tian stood up and sat on a comfortable chair. At this time, the little blue dragon jumped down and landed on Yang Tian's shoulder. Little dragon, things might not be as simple as we think, we need to be careful. Yang Tian used his mental power to speak to the little azure dragon. The little azure dragon had already calmed down and nodded. The sky gradually darkened. Long Hao's Dragon Clan. Was Long Hao was Dragon Clan's Dragon Clan. Ever since he found out that the little blue dragon was the descendant of the ancestral dragon, the excitement in Long Hao's heart had never faded. To him and the Dragon Clan of the Dragon Starfield, this was a great opportunity. The Golden Dragon Clan's elders quickly arrived at Long Hao's Dragon Clan's teleportation formation disk. Including Long Hao, the Golden Dragon clan had a total of 38 elders. They were all present and sat in a circle. Long Hao, speak. What's the matter? Why did you call us here in such a hurry? After everyone was seated, an elder said lightly. Other than Long Hao, the other elders present still didn't know that the little blue dragon was the descendant of the ancestral dragon. However, they all knew that Long Hao had invited an outsider of his kind and a human to his territory. All the elders knew that Long Hao must have invited them over for this matter. Long Hao laughed when the elder asked. He didn't immediately talk about the little blue dragon. Instead, he said, "Our abandoned clan has lived in this universe for many years." When Long Hao finished talking, everyone did not make a sound. The moment this matter was mentioned, they were all very upset. The dragon's starfield looked like a place with a beautiful environment and excellent living conditions to them. But in reality, it was a cage. For countless years, not a single dragon was able to successfully leave this universe and reach another world. Even if they advanced to the realm of great astral deity, they could only wait for time to trickle by, finally walking to the end of their lives or choose to sleep. The elders were silent for a while. An elder suddenly opened his mouth and said, "Long Hao, what do you want to say?" Long Hao smiled and said, "Now, we have an opportunity, a massive opportunity. You all don't know, that fellow who barged in previously is actually the descendant of the ancestral dragon." The moment Long Hao's voice faded, the elders could not help opening their eyes wide. Ha ha ha! Seeing the elders' reactions, Long Hao started laughing excitedly. Amidst Long Hao's laughter, looks of excitement and greed all appeared in the eyes of these elders. If we're able to obtain its bloodline, we can also turn ourselves into the ancestral dragon's descendants. This way we'll be able to pass through that passageway of the dragon prison smoothly and enter a new world, and not stay in this world to wait for death. The moment Long Hao's laughter faded, an elder said agitatedly. Long Hao was the first to know about this matter. The plan, he already formulated it. The reason why he gathered the elders in the clan was also in order to let them cooperate with his plan at the appropriate time. Wanting to obtain the ancestral dragon's bloodline isn't that easy either. My idea is like this. Long Hao talked out the plan. After he finished talking, the elders fell silent all at once, because to them, this plan was seriously somewhat too cruel. No other way? After Long Hao finished talking, he was silent for a long time again. Only then did an elder open his mouth and say with furrowed brows. Long Hao said, "No other way, we can only do so. The ancestral dragon's bloodline, if he's not willing, we can't forcefully demand it either. But doing it according to this plan, the success rate can at least be 80%. The elders present were all tormented by time to the point that they were about to go crazy. They yearned for the plan to succeed even more than Long Hao. Long Hao was still very young. These old elders to them did not have much time left. In the end, they all agreed to this plan. The huge star had already set below the horizon. In the sky, 5 big moons appeared, projecting 9 colored rays of light down, forming a dreamy night. In the luxurious nameless little palace, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon had already arrived at the top of the palace. One man and one dragon looked at the 5 big moons in the sky, their eyes filled with amazement. This kind of night was simply too beautiful. At this time, Yang Tian was thinking, if he could find Xiao Fei in the future, he could come to the dragon's starfield and live peacefully. After a long time, Yang Tian woke up and released Belle from the storage bracelet, letting Belle take a picture of the night scene here. At that time, if he found Qin Fei, he could show her this scenery. Belle flew a circle around the palace, recording the sky and the surrounding situation. At this time, a beautiful woman frowned and came to the entrance of the palace, appearing in front of Yang Tian and the little blue dragon's eyes. This young woman was very beautiful, not inferior to Qin Fei in terms of looks. She was wearing a blue dress, and her long golden hair was casually draped over her shoulders. Her skin was as white as jade, and under the 9-colored light, a faint halo appeared on her body. She looked like a fairy who had walked out of a dream. After Yang Tian and the little blue dragon saw this young woman, their eyes never left. From the aura emitted from her body, it could be seen that she was a beauty of the Dragon Clan. Moreover, her status in the Golden Dragon Clan should not be low. Ordinary maids or women of low status would not have such a noble temperament. She was a female dragon in the Great Star Lord realm. Yang Tian was the first to wake up. He looked at the little blue dragon's eyes and suddenly laughed. The little blue dragon was in love. This young woman stood at the entrance of the palace for a few minutes, then for some reason, she turned and left. Xiaolong, hurry up, Yang Tian said to the little blue dragon with a smile. The little blue dragon, who used to do things straightforwardly, hesitated at this time, looking a little bashful. Seeing the little blue dragon's annoying look, Yang Tian grabbed it and threw it at the beautiful dragon girl. Chapter 6:13. Yang Tian's throw was very accurate, and the little blue dragon landed a few meters in front of the beautiful dragoness. Seeing the little blue dragon in front of her, the beautiful dragoness frowned again, but stopped. After the little blue dragon got up, it felt that it was too small and immediately transformed into a dragon more than 10 meters long. It looked at the beautiful dragoness with a smile in its eyes. In fact, dragons looked for a mate by feeling the other party's aura, not by looking at their appearance. To the little blue dragon, this beautiful dragoness made the little blue dragon feel very comfortable, whether it was her appearance or the aura emitted from her body. The beautiful dragoness sized up the little blue dragon and smiled slightly. Seeing the smile on the dragoness's face, the little blue dragon couldn't help but be stunned. It only reacted after the other party passed by it and left. On the top of the palace, Yang Tian helplessly shook his head when he saw this situation. The little blue dragon was usually quite clever, but he didn't expect it to become silly when it encountered this kind of situation. What Yang Tian and the little blue dragon didn't know was that not far away, Long Hao had seen everything that had just happened. Everything was developing according to his plan. After the little blue dragon returned to the palace, it became a little unhappy. Perhaps it was worried about its performance just now. It felt that its performance was worse than Yang Tian's previous performance. Seeing the little blue dragon's unhappy look, Yang Tian told the little blue dragon that if he had the chance tomorrow, he would help the little blue dragon ask Long Hao who that beautiful dragoness was. No, what kind of dragon was she? If the other party didn't have a mate, he would ask Long Hao to help and see if he could match the little blue dragon with that dragoness. When Yang Tian said this, the little blue dragon became happy. This planet was very big. The day and night were several times longer than Earth. Yang Tian slept soundly, but the little blue dragon stayed up all night full of anticipation. At daybreak, the girl named Qing Yin and the other 17 maids walked into the hall. Qing Yin told Yang Tian and the little blue dragon that Elder Hao Tian had invited them to a banquet. Long Hao had already told Yang Tian and the little blue dragon about this yesterday. The maids also brought 2 sets of gorgeous golden robes, one for the little blue dragon and the other for Yang Tian. Long Hao probably didn't expect that the little blue dragon didn't know how to take human form. Yang Tian put on the golden robe and looked at himself in the mirror. He wasn't very handsome, but his temperament was much more noble. Of course, this was only Yang Tian's feeling. The little blue dragon still stayed on Yang Tian's shoulder. Under the guidance of the maids, Yang Tian sat on a large carriage pulled by a lion beast and traveled through the wide streets. This planet was very big, but the proportion of dragon clan living on this planet was very small. The beast clan was the most numerous. The Golden Dragon clan had the least number of dragon clans in the entire Dragon Star field. However, they were very powerful and had a dominant position. Under the gaze of countless beast clans in the city, the carriage arrived in front of a huge palace. In front of the palace, there were already 2 rows of Dragon Clan soldiers wearing gorgeous golden armor. Their expressions were solemn. After getting off the carriage, Yang Tian brought the little blue dragon into the palace under the guidance of a ceremonial officer. After passing through a long and wide path, they entered a magnificent hall with golden walls. The entire hall was tens of thousands of square meters. There were rows of long tables, and in front of each table sat a noble Dragon Clan member. From the color of their robes, one could tell which clan they belonged to. The Black Dragon Clan wore black robes, the White Dragon Clan wore white robes. Each branch of the Dragon Clan had about 20 to 30 people. These people were all elders of the various clans. There were 9 branches of the Dragon Clan, and there were about 300 people. Most of them were beautiful Beast Clan maids. They carried all kinds of fruits, pastries, and drinks as they shuttled back and forth in the hall. Originally, the hall was very lively, but when Yang Tian walked in, everyone fell silent. The music also stopped. Long Hao was the master of this palace. As soon as Yang Tian walked in, he welcomed him warmly and led Yang Tian to the left side of the main seat. Next, Hao Tian loudly introduced Yang Tian and the little blue dragon to the elders of the various clans. After Hao Tian finished, Yang Tian stood up and said with a smile, "Thank you for your warm hospitality, Elder Hao Tian, and thank you for coming." After a brief sentence, Yang Tian sat down. Actually, there was nothing much to say. As soon as Yang Tian walked in, he saw that the elders of the Dragon Clan didn't look too good. After Yang Tian sat down, the music started again. Dozens of beautiful women in red muslin dresses walked over lightly and danced to the music. Yang Tian felt that the atmosphere was a little off, so he naturally wasn't in the mood to enjoy the song and dance. From time to time, he raised his head to look at the elders of the Dragon Clan on both sides. Other than a few elders of the Dragon Clan who were whispering with smiles on their faces, most of the elders of the Dragon Clan seemed absent-minded. The little blue dragon had already jumped onto the table in front of Yang Tian. It was like a little squirrel holding an unknown fruit and gnawing on it. There was actually wine in the Dragon Clan. As soon as Yang Tian sat down, he smelled the scent of wine. This was not wine produced outside, but it was actually produced by the Dragon Clan. It seemed to be brewed with fruits, and had a very strong fruity fragrance. Yang Tian picked up the trumpet-shaped crystal wine cup and drank a mouthful of pale yellow wine. The taste was not bad. It was actually good wine that had been stored in the cellar for many years. The little blue dragon didn't know what politeness was at all. It stuck its head into the cup prepared for it and drank the wine in one gulp. It threw away the fruit pit in its hands and picked up a blue fruit that was bigger than a date and started to gnaw on it. A maid standing at the side immediately filled the little blue dragon's cup with wine. Although Long Hao at the side pretended to be admiring the dance, in fact, he glanced at Yang Tian from time to time. Moreover, his gaze was always on the little blue dragon. The wine of the Dragon Clan was indeed different. Not only was it delicious, but it was also very strong. Very soon, the elders in the hall were all drunk. When they were half drunk, they all let go. Some of the Dragon Clan elders didn't care about their image, and pulled the beautiful maids into their arms to tease them. The voices in the hall also became louder. Buzz, 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 like the sound of bees. The image of these Dragon Clan elders in Yang Tian's eyes fell by 1,000 feet. Perhaps, to the Dragon Clan here, it was always like this. In this sealed star field, the Dragon Clan had no enemies and could freely enjoy themselves. In the eyes of the humans on Earth, life seemed to be extremely decadent. Halfway through the banquet, a beautiful woman suddenly walked in, surrounded by a group of maids. As soon as she appeared, the hall immediately quieted down. Then, this beautiful woman squatted down and her maids set up a strange musical instrument for her. This musical instrument was very similar to a zither. It actually had 99 strings and was 10 meters long. It was made up of 3 parts. Between the beautiful woman's nimble fingers, a beautiful zither sound rang out. When he saw the young woman's face, Yang Tian couldn't help but be stunned. The little blue dragon, who was holding a fruit, was already stunned. Wasn't this young woman the beautiful dragon girl that Yang Tian and the little blue dragon saw last night? After Yang Tian reacted, he stood up and walked to Long Hao. He squatted beside Long Hao and asked curiously, "Elder Long Hao, who is she?" Long Hao smiled and said, "She is the most beautiful woman in my Golden Dragon clan. Her name is Yu Jiu." After Long Hao finished speaking, he smiled and said, "Yang Tian, you like her?" Yang Tian smiled and shook his head. He pointed at the wooden little blue dragon and said with a smile, "It's Xiao Long who likes her." Long Hao smiled and said, "If Xiao Long can conquer her, I have no objections." After Yu Jiu finished playing the musical instrument, she stood up. When she was about to leave, the little blue dragon suddenly jumped up and turned into a huge dragon in the sky and rushed towards Yu Jiu. Yu Jiu couldn't react in time. After the little blue dragon grabbed her, they flew out of the hall. The little blue dragon was very fast. He rushed out in an instant without saying anything to Yang Tian. When Yang Tian and the dragon elders rushed out of the hall, they saw 2 golden dragons flying in the sky several thousand meters above the ground. Yu Jiu had already turned back into a dragon. She was the same size as the little blue dragon. The 2 dragons fought for a while in the faint rainbow clouds. Not long after, the golden dragon that Yu Jiu transformed into started to run away. She even let out a roar of dissatisfaction. However, the little blue dragon chased after her without letting go. Just like that, they chased each other in the sky. Time passed minute by minute until the stars fell into the horizon. Finally, the little blue dragon and Yu Jiu were entangled. Thick clouds suddenly appeared in the sky. Soon, it started to rain heavily. During this process, Yang Tian felt a strong life aura coming from the sky. "What are they doing?" Yang Tian couldn't help but ask Long Hao, who was standing beside him. Long Hao smiled and said, "They are creating Xiao Long." Yang Tian was stunned. He immediately reacted and opened his eyes wide. Wasn't this development too fast? When did Xiao Long's guts become so big? Last night, he was still very slow. Yang Tian now knew why the ancients described the matters between men and women as making love. Although the dragon race was different from humans and did things very directly, Yang Tian calmly thought about it and felt that something was wrong. What exactly was the problem? Yang Tian frowned as he looked at the little blue dragon and Yu Jiu in the sky. However, his mind was constantly thinking. Dragons and humans were different. They were very powerful and could do that for a very long time. The stars fell into the horizon and night came. Then, the stars rose again. When the clouds started to thin and the rain stopped, Yang Tian saw that the little blue dragon and Yu Jiu had already separated. Yu Jiu let out a low howl in the sky. She dived into a building in the distance and disappeared. The little blue dragon turned back into a mini dragon and landed on Yang Tian's shoulder. After returning, the little blue dragon's expression was very dispirited. When Yang Tian saw the little blue dragon's appearance, he couldn't help but laugh and say, "Xiao Long, although it feels good, you have to control yourself." As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, the little blue dragon lay down and closed its eyes. Soon, it fell asleep. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.